Good morning, Raptor freaks. Lexi out here. It's Friday morning, and the Raptors lost to the Timberwolves last night. And another second half kind of collapse where the integrity of how to play was not held up. And the other team at home got their crowd going. And well, that's what happens sometimes. A rebuild is not swift and quick. It can be for some teams, but that's so rare. It's not something that happens overnight. And there's different levels we've got to achieve and get over and get past. RJ after the game was frustrated and he was very clear about things that this is not acceptable. That the concerns of Raptors fans about the Raptors' trouble with closing games are the same concerns that the players have, and that something's got to change. And those were the words directly from RJ's voice. Something's going to have to change about how we do things to be more successful. And there's a couple of different things I could see that could try and help them be better late in the game, but I feel like this is just part of the process. And in some ways, Raptors Nation needs to learn patience. We made a huge leap this year as a franchise and a team, and where we were last year to this year. And in some ways, to me, that's a success. I don't care how anybody tries to paint this year. If you're going to come at me and say this year has been a failure and this year has been a disappointment, you're wrong. There's nothing about that that's accurate in any kind of way. This year, in some ways, we could say this year is going above and beyond what people expected for us. Maybe I expected this and I called it out last summer, but they're doing what I expected. And that's fantastic. I wanted fourth or higher, and we can still get that. So it's still within reach. I like what RJ said after the game because it's like he's not happy with this. He's not happy with this. It'd be different if he was kind of like, we just lost, and all this kind of stuff, nonchalant. But he's not nonchalant about this. He is very serious about this. And it's basically like the lab. He's saying, we got to go back in the lab. We got to figure out the next chemical formula, and we're going to try and figure it out and get it right. Scotty didn't want to lose like this. RJ said in the press conference that we're trying with our heart out, and we are trying, and we have the right intentions to try and win these games. It's just not happening. you know there's a couple of things that were a catalyst towards this happening. The NBA wants it to sound like that dunk that Anthony Edwards threw down and posed over RJ was the catalyst, and that may very well be true. That was kind of the turning point in the game because it livened up the crowd. The Minnesota crowd was pretty docile and quiet for most of the game, and they lit them up in the second half with amazing plays. And that's when Darko's timeouts and quieting the crowd and stuff like that can be very effective and helpful. But in some ways, the Timberwolves just took that energy and closed out with it. Anthony Edwards is an exceptional player in this league. He doesn't miss a lot. I mean, his shooting percentage is a little weird, but when it matters and when he's really trying to make a shot, he's hitting it over people that are in tough shots that are like contested outside threes that he has a hand in his face and he still makes it. That's amazing. That's impressive that he can do that. And he's a very top tier kind of closer winner kind of player in this league. You couple in a defensive player of the year and one of the biggest, toughest guys to score on in Rudy Gobert. They're like I said yesterday in the stream. I think that this edition of the Minnesota Timberwolves right now is the best team they've ever had in the whole entire 40 years of Minnesota Timberwolves playing. Seriously, better than any Garnett team, better than the Cat Timberwolves that we had recently. This team right now is the very best Timberwolves team ever in the history of their franchise. Right now. I mean it. And partly it's, Randall and DiVincenzo. Now that they added Io, that adds a whole other dimension. In fact, RJ noted that after the game. He said, man, they got Io now, and they're faster up and down the court because of Desumo. He said that. He said before, the Minnesota Timberwolves a little bit slower up and down the court, but Io, the addition of him at the trade deadline, has sped up their game and has helped their bench. Honestly, when I was watching the game last night, I was like, man, DeSumo is actually really fitting in with them really nicely, easily right away. And he's having dividends. They're paying off for them immediately. They reacquired Kyle Anderson back, and he's the kind of player that was familiar with everybody there, and they kind of missed him when he was gone. And now they feel happy that he's just returned and they got his abilities back again. Naz Reid, that's a premium backup big to have off your bench. There's a lot to like about the Minnesota Timberwolves roster and their players that they have available to them. They don't even use Mike Conley. He's just a Garrett Temple on the bench, watching and kind of being an old grizzled vet, looking over and keeping things going. Yeah, Darko, he sees the big picture too. In his after game interview, this is just process, and take the tape and learn from it and keep going. We could point out some of the things that were reasons why the Raptors fumbled the game. The energy and the momentum of the game obviously shifted very heavy towards Minnesota, and the Raptors have a hard time scoring offense at a certain point, like getting points in any kind of way, and that really messes them up. We get these droughts at the end of the game. Partly it's the other team ratcheting up their defense and making it harder for us. The one person in particular that struggled last night, and we could blame directly for some of the failure at the end of the game is Brandon. But in some ways, it's not totally fair to him. First of all, he was questionable for most of the day. He did end up playing. His thumb is messed up, so his shooting's not exactly right. And then you add in that the Timberwolves lineup is a very long, lanky lineup that's defensive oriented, and they did a really good job of agitating him and not letting him get a lot of his shots cleanly without some sort of contact or pushing or grabbing or any of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that going on with Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid and Gobert grabbing Brandon at different times and pulling him off his shot in different ways, and partly why he misses. I don't like how lackadaisical Brandon gets in the high pressure situations. I mean, I get it. He's kind of a stoner kind of dude who's kind of just living life. But that dude in some ways needs other gears to go to. He's got to be like his hero, Kobe Bryant, and understand that you got to switch it up, Brandon, at a certain point and say, I'm doing this like Ant's doing it the other way. Because you got another 8-second call. That wasn't totally your fault this time. The first one was. This one, in some ways, it was a shed thing where they put a wall up at the line and you just couldn't get the ball over in time, and you got an 8-second violation. And those they look tacky. They look bad, and especially since we've had you do two yourself in 2 games in a row. Yeah, we don't want to see this call. For some reason, the referees in the NBA and the G League are calling that 8-second violation like they're looking for it and they want to call it all the time. The Raptors, between the 905 and the Raptors, have had the last 3 games get an 8-second violation about crossing the court. And that's such a dumb turnover, a dumb, unforced kind of turnover, stupid thing, Brandon had to leave the ball behind, and that was that little bit of seconds where he couldn't get the ball across the line, 8 seconds. And, then you see him dribble in the fourth quarter, and he's trying to make something happen on our offense, and he dribbles the ball off his foot, and it goes out of bounds, and it's a turnover. This stuff is frustrating. In some ways, it's like, it's once again too predictable to go to Brandon over and over again like this. And I also question. I mean, I get it. He's like money in the bank. If you can get him the ball and he shoots, he's going to make shots. But I also question the idea of using him as the primary guy in the fourth quarter to carry us when he's shooting so badly for the game already. And the Minnesota Timberwolves have guarded him very well. In some ways, the signs were that RJ needed to be the guy to get the ball in the fourth quarter, that he needed to be the guy to try and bully through, or even Scotty. Manuel's going to get his shots and put his here and there. But, RJ, he impressed me at times yesterday, especially that one shot he got right next to Gobert. Did you see that? That was really high-level stuff. Gobert is so hard to shoot around. Obviously, his wingspan is crazy. He really is one of the best defenders in the NBA. for a while now. And well, RJ, he did something really sneaky. He like came up beside him as close as possible to him. He held the ball with strength near him, or Gobert's around him like a tree, like he's Groot. And RJ's doing all this and this, and he goes right into him and goes underneath his arm and puts the ball in. That was such a cool shot. In some ways, he solved Gobert. It's like get as close as possible to him so that his long arms aren't, they're too long to even touch where you're going, and just go up underneath his armpit. It's amazing. That's high level stuff. And that's kind of like reminiscent of old NBA scorers that had to finish through contact and being right up close to big, tall trees of tall centers and shot blockers to be able to do that. That was really cool. RJ is just a scorer. He's just a badass. And hopefully watching the game last night, people understand his value for our team and what he can do. You know, that was not an easy to score in game. And in some ways, RJ is one of our guys who can still score in the highest of pressure situations against the toughest defenses. And we should value that, Raptors Nation. We should very much value that. You know, Brandon is getting a little too predictable. And in some ways, we need to diversify our offense late in the fourth quarter to keep them guessing. Because Ingram, they know we're going to throw it to three. And they're ready for it. And that's a problem right there. We need to, in some ways, go away from him for a little while just to kind of freshen it up again. Right? Right? So, yeah, we'll do the stars of the game. We do have a 9:05 game today at 5 p.m. Paramount Fried Food Center. It's the second game between the Rio Grande Valley Vipers and the Raptors 905. And, yeah, we got to see the new look 905. I don't know if they're going to sign somebody else. I haven't heard anything yet about another edition. It may be that they just got who they got, but maybe there is another new player that will be available to them tonight. So let's go ahead and look at the refs for that game just real quick and a preview for tonight. At 5 p.m. is the tip-off, y'all, so be ready for that. It's a little bit of a weird start time. I will be there in the YouTube chat if you want to hang out with me. I'm sure super fan Monique Lawrence will probably be there also. So, yeah, from 5 to about 7, we'll have some Raptors 905 basketball. And, well, we need to break this losing in March. Both Raptor teams are 0-2 so far this month, and it sucks. It sucks. I hate losing this much. We've been doing so well this whole entire year with one of the teams at least winning at all times. But right now, both of them are losing. And, there's different reasons for both of them. Let's see. Julian Scott is going to be the crew chief today. Julian Scott refereed on Sunday in the game that I went to against Greensboro Swarm. So Julian Scott is back. This time, he's the crew chief, though. He was the second ref on Sunday, number 61. Jafar Kinsey is the referee, number 38. And Jacob Budnick is the umpire, number 32. So there's your ref report for today. Jafar Kinsey was at one of the games that I went to this year too. So yeah, and Budnick. All right, that's your ref crew. And well, it's the same team that we just faced. Deshaun Nix and the guys from the Houston G League team that we're playing today. So yeah, we'll have to see how we do. More Tyrese Samuel and Quincy Guerrier and the two ways are with the team, and Jonathan was on the road, if you didn't notice. I don't know Jonathan Mobo is going to be available to Andrew Jones today, seeing as he was playing in Minnesota last night. That surprised a lot of people. And there's a guy on Reddit saying, why is Jonathan playing ahead of Trace Jackson Davis? Because you just made that up in your head that he was ahead of him in the depth chart? I said this just a couple of days ago. I was talking about the success of Jonathan Mobo this year and how off Raptors Nation is on him. And, well, him playing important minutes last night against the Timberwolves shows just exactly how off they are about him and what they think he is to our franchise and what he's doing on our team. It's so stupid. You want to know why they played Jonathan over Trace in the game last night? It's because he knows Scotty for like decades now. Like they've known each other and played on the same team and around each other for like 15 years. And that's a lot of chemistry and gelling. And you see it when they're out on the court together. That's part of the reason why they'll play Jonathan and why they played him a lot last year and started him is because there's a natural built-up chemistry between Scotty Barnes and Jonathan Mobo. because they've been playing in driveways, in high school gyms, and all kinds of places for a long time, very long time, since they were little kids. So, that kind of benefit is nice, because that you see they can pass off each other and do things in the game. Like there was that one play where Jonathan came up and kind of butted into the defense, and Scotty came in behind him. He dropped it off to Scotty. Scotty had a lane to go right in the basket and put it in easy. There's a lot of good chemistry between Mobo and Barnes. And when you play Barnes with Mobo, there's some benefits unlocked on the court. And Trace doesn't have that with Scotty. So, I mean, that's part of it right there. If everybody's wondering why Trace would get in ahead of Trace would not get in ahead of Jonathan in the rotation last night. I'm glad they played Jonathan a lot last night, because it kind of reminded everybody, like, look, this is a dude on our team that we use sometimes and we have around to be able to use against a tall team like the Timberwolves, like last night. So, some of you were wondering why the hell is Jonathan playing? Why is he playing? It makes all the sense in the world. He played a lot last year. He started a lot of games last year, and he can still do this. It's not. It's just a misconception that nephews and casuals in Raptors Nation think, well, he's been playing on 905 all year, he must suck. They don't get it. They don't understand this whole thing here. Yeah. All right, let's do the words of wisdom from Trevor J., the Commissioner of Fun. Trevor J., good morning. Thank you for your words of wisdom. The entire point of life isn't to always know where it's going. It's to trust that you'll end up exactly where you belong. Every detour, every delay, every unexpected turn, it's all a part of the path design. Yeah, I always like this philosophy, to think about your path, your life path, and understand that where you are on your path is exactly where you're supposed to be. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels like you're missing out, even if it feels like you're not doing the things that you think you should be doing, there's always a reason, and the reason is always clear at first. It takes time sometimes to see the reason. And a good way to live where you're not having mental health or issues, being upset or worried or regret, is to just trust your path. It's just to inherently say this and like have this as a motto, saying, you know what? I'm not trying to keep up with other people. I'm not trying to do this. Just because they did that doesn't mean I have to do that. All this other stuff like that. Because you get all kinds of gaslit by society, and people are around you to think that they know what you're supposed to be doing in your life, but they don't really know your path and what you've been through and where you are. And so it's stupid for them to assess that and analyze and think that they know. No, once again, trust God, trust your path, trust things happen for a reason, and the timing of God is impeccable, and it should not be questioned. And that, it takes a lot of stress and a lot of worries off yourself when you just have faith that your place on your path, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it isn't exactly what you want, is working towards the place where you are supposed to be. So yeah, thank you, Trevor, for your words of wisdom. They hit hard, they're poignant, and then they're true. They're a real truth in this world. And people got to stop comparing themselves to each other and realize your path is unique to yourself, and trust your path. That's right. Blessings to the Jones family, all the Rapper Freak families. That's right. Yeah, for you let go of the pressure to control the outcome and lean into faith. That's right. Trevor's saying Raptors have to get it together against good teams and play hard to win games. That's what RJ said. He's like, this is the next thing. What we need to do to show signs of where we're going and how we're progressing is we need to start beating these good teams. It's obvious. If this year we don't get this figured out, well, next year this will be part of what we want to show as an improvement for next year, right? It's all steps going up. And, we only went 30 games last year. We struggle to win games in general, not just against top teams, but just against any team. This year, we take care of business against the bad teams. We just can't beat the good teams. That's progress. That's us moving up the stairs, even if it's not getting above those top teams yet. We'll get there. And in some ways, people say, no, we're mid. We're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to be like this. That's bullshit, because we have a young core that's still developing, and they're learning each other better and better. The talent is very, very high, and it's just reining in that power to be put to the place where it's going to come together, and it leads to success. And this is going to happen. It's just that we have to be patient as a fan nation. We have to allow Bobby to do his job this summer. We have to allow Darko to do his best for the rest of the season and into the playoffs and get that playoff test. You know, a lot of people are saying, oh, there's no way we'll win in the first round if we're going to be like this. We're going to be a first round exit. That's not for sure. You know, we could get things turned around in the next 2 months, the last 2 months of the season, and be on a really good run at the end of the year and have some really good stuff. And if we are playing Cleveland in the first round, remember, we swept them this year. And in some ways, that's a really good matchup for us in the first round to get past. Honestly, it's better than the Knicks, that's for sure. So in some ways, if we can stay in the 5th spot or leap back in the 4th spot, then we can, face probably the Cavaliers. And even if they have James Harden, I don't give a shit. We have a good matchup against them, and we could probably beat them in a 7-game first-round series. So, yeah, that's how I look at it right there. Yeah, Jimmy's saying this. Darko needs to lock the fuck in. We're in the play. We're in the play at this rate. We're in the play. You mean the play-in and potentially not making the playoffs? No, that's bullshit, Jimmy. That's not the Pope of positivity I know. No, listen, we just got to take care of the tough game, the easy games going forward. If we do things a certain way, we should still be fine and be where we are. I think you guys are panicking because we just had a really, really tough part of our schedule. Let's just put it that way. Now, I'm going to go do the Raptors Redditor of the day right now because it's related to this. Munir M. He posts a lot of crap on here, and he pisses me off half the time with his Reddit stuff. But today he has a post 9 hours ago that makes sense. He said, we've been bad, but low key, this is a gauntlet. And he means it. You know, he's posted the last 6 games. 2 of them we won, Wizards and Bucks. But the other games, the 1st seed, the 2nd seed, the 3rd seed, and the 3rd seed. We're playing top 3 teams in the East and Western Conference, and we just happen to go through an extremely difficult part of the schedule. I mean, we played the Thunder, the Knicks, the Spurs, and now the Timberwolves last night. This is not an easy stretch. This is a gauntlet, as Munir put on his Reddit post. This is a gauntlet. And this may be one of the hardest stretches in our whole entire season. Now, next game, we're playing Dallas at home on Sunday. And we lost to Dallas at the beginning of the season in a stupid game we shouldn't have lost, where we really shouldn't have lost. This is a game we need to beat because this is a bad team with a bad record, and we need to kick the Mavericks' ass on Sunday in Toronto. Yeah, we need to do that. That'll be important, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's in 2 days from now still, tomorrow and then Sunday. So we'll just have to see that. That's the thing. We're going to have tough games that we have to play, and I know you're worried because Philadelphia is a game behind us. But, there's still a lot of season to go, and we do have easy games still mixed in with the tough games still. I think that Josh Loomberg tweeted last night that we have 6 more games this season against top teams, but we have like 20 games left. So more of them are against shittier teams, and hopefully we can win those games. It's just this is a really tough stretch right now. I mean, we're going to see the Suns in the near future too. We got Detroit again very soon. So there's just tough games we're hitting in our schedule right now. In some ways, this is like the opposite of our March last year. March last year was full of easy games when we didn't want to win. This year, we've had more of our easy games spread out over the whole entire year. And there's been a lot of tough games spread out also, but we're getting an extra brunt of them right now. And it's just part of it. So, yeah, I mean, I could say maybe Darko could lock in with the play sets and the mentality and stuff. But honestly, these guys are working hard. They're playing really well for most of the game. It's just the wheels fall off at a certain point. And part of it isn't even us that it goes and falls apart. Basically, the other team just steps it up and they go into another mode and they leave us behind. And that happened in the last 3 minutes of the Knicks game. And that happened somewhere in the 3rd quarter last night against the Timberwolves, where the other team just leaves us behind. And we can't keep up because we're stagnating. We're not scoring at that point. There was a lot I liked about the game last night. There's definitely very quality play on the court. We were beating them in the first half, and we were kicking their butt. It's just one of the tools, one of the things in a rebuild is to get that full 48-minute excellent effort that is the whole entire game, and we're struggling with that still. We can play like 40 minutes of the game really well and as we should, and then there's 8 minutes of the game where we're absolute crap, and that's where we lose the game. So, that's part of the development and rebuilding is to make sure you have a quality 48 minutes instead of like 45 or 40. And then the other is where you lose the game. This is a tough league, and in some ways, that's why these other teams are so good is because they're good the whole 48, and we're not good the whole 48 yet. We have to make sure our quality is good for all 4 quarters, for all the minutes and seconds of the game, and that's part of it right there. Let's see, Stargate's here. Good morning, Stargate. Y'all need to stop panicking like a teenage girl who just had sex with a boyfriend without protection. That's a weird one. That's an interesting analogy. Relax. They are learning. Winning is new for this team. Yeah, I think Stargate's exactly right. I think that I think that we're more we're more calm and on point with this, the RFF, than regular old Raptors Nation. They're going to be more overreacting. We are kind of wise and sage and understanding this. So in some ways, this comment is not necessarily for us as a group, but maybe for the Redditors and the Twitter people and the Facebook people. Maybe they need this comment here. But I think that for the most part, I don't think we're panicking too much. I think that a lot of the people in our chat are kind of wise to what we see Stargate. That this is a long process, and this isn't just for now. What a lot of people can't see beyond that. They only think this is now, and we are failing, we suck, and we're not a good team. We're not good enough. Yeah, that's currently right now, but that's not going to be the case as time goes on. Watch, it'll change. Yeah, like Stargate's saying, they're still learning the different aspects of winning a game. You do not learn it all at once. It's in stages, and they are now at the how to close out a game stage. This is exactly right. This is what I was just describing. And I've seen this with the other teams in different places. Like, a good example of me learning how a team rebuilds or builds into being a contender is my early experience watching the Orlando Magic as an expansion team in Florida. When they gave the team to Orlando in 1989, I watched them go from being an expansion team to the finals in like 6 years, right? Because they got the finals with Shaq and Penny against Akeem and the Rockets. And I saw the stair steps at that point of how you do it. Whether they came in as an expansion team with Reggie Theus and Terry Catledge and Jerry Ice Reynolds and Nick Anderson. And they struggled their first couple of years. They were a true expansion team, and they lost a lot. But then I saw the process of how they learned how to win. And it wasn't just drafting Shaq and Penny. You needed those guys as the talent to drive you to the top. But there was still a learning process of like, this is how you do this, to do this, to do this, to get to this. And still, they failed in the finals and lost to Olajuwon. But the process of going from an expansion team with a very bad record to a team that to a team that's close to the playoffs, to a team that makes the playoffs, to a team that is, goes further in the playoffs. It's all stair steps. And seeing the process, this is one of the stair steps. Learning how to close out games, learning how to play a whole 48 minutes of quality so that everything and every decision and everything that happened on the court adds up to the possibility of you being able to win. And, missed free throws, bad turnovers early in the game count just as much as the ones later. It's just that, you're putting stuff on the side already that's against you winning because you missed a free throw already, or you lost the ball and you caused the possession to be gone for the Raptors, stuff like that. Trevor J's brought up interesting news last night. And listen, I know what I'm talking about, obviously. I know what I'm fucking talking about. What did I say for 3 months right now? At least 3 months I've been saying Julian Reese is an NBA player. Julian Reese is going to be very good in the NBA. Get him on the Raptors, Bobby. Because what happened? They had a game last night. Julian's still starting because all the centers for the Wizards are out. Vucevic, Sarr, Anthony Gill. So Julian Reese, young Juju Reese, thrown into the fire, thrown into the starting lineup against the Jazz, two teams that are tanking. We need to take note of this. But Julian put up an 18 and 20 game last night, 20 rebounds in the NBA. And I mean, he showed signs of this on 905 this year. And I said this all year. Bobby, you need to fucking listen to me, man. Seriously. I obviously have an eye for knowing what I'm talking about because I said this shit 3 months ago about Reese. And now last night he's gone out and done this. So I'm going to take a little victory lap on this because Lex's eye for talent and calling shit and seeing it and talking about it on this channel ahead of it happening is a very good record. And Julian Reese is a proof of this as of last night. Sure, as the Jazz, sure, both teams are trying to lose, but still getting 20 rebounds in I think it's like your third game as a pro ever. That's a record. Guys don't do that normally. And that's why I'm pissed because, like, I could see this. Why can't y'all see it, Dan Tolzman and Luke Wynn and Bobby Webster? Why aren't you calling Reese and putting him and keeping her on our team? Well, the Wizards got him now, and we can't get him now because he's on contract with them. I mean, there may be stuff on the moon that I don't know. It could very well be this is a Bobby on the moon kind of thing where Lex, you can get mad at Bobby for not trying to covet and protect keeping Julian Reese on the Raptors, but maybe there's something on the moon you don't know about, like an alien that was in the corner that doesn't allow this to happen, and your laser guns don't work on him. See, that's the thing. I don't live on the moon. I'm not an NBA GM. So I don't know all the rules and all the politics and all the relationships and all the different things that Bobby Webster has to navigate as the head of basketball operations for the Toronto Raptors. It could very well be Julian Reese came up here with his sister Angel and said to Bobby, yeah, we love your development here. We love being here, but don't sign us to the Raptors. We don't want to be in Toronto long term. We want to come up here. We want to play. We want to look good. And if you get us a two-way somewhere else, we'd be very happy. And maybe Bobby knew that all along. He's like, yeah, okay. We'll play you, we'll develop you, do this stuff. And then, like, Julian Reese is a wizard all of a sudden. I don't know. Could there be an underlying agreement on this? Yeah, we want to come up here. We won't play for 905. We won't play for Drew Jones. But don't try and put me on the Raptors because I'm not trying to stay up here long term. That could be a case, seriously, that maybe Bobby knew this, like, look, Julian doesn't really want to be here long term, so let's not even waste the time trying to get him switched onto the two-way. That could be part of it. I don't live on the moon. I don't know what Bobby has to deal with his moon rover garage and his alien neighbors. Seriously, we don't live on the moon. We're not GMs and head of basketball operation in the NBA. We have no idea the settings and the things that he has to deal with in his job. So who knows? I'm speculating. That may be completely untrue, what I just said. But it could be a possibility that was why right there, right? Trevor's saying Raptors have until March 15th to add a player by Michael Grange. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too, is that and they expect them to fill the roster spot by the 15th. So we got about a week. And then hopefully, they'll have an extra player coming in. And there's some speculation that this player could be a veteran to come in and help our bench scoring. Somebody said there's a couple of names, and I'm not really thrilled with them. There's 3 names that were kind of talked about, and they were Cole Anthony, George Niang, and Lonzo Ball, something like that. Yeah, I don't know, man. None of that, man. None of that. I don't like any of those guys. George's Niang is overweight, and he's overrated. If I had to pick out those guys, maybe Cole Anthony is the one that I would want. Just because Cole Anthony has a lot of grit, and he is the kind of guy that'll go all out and do above and beyond for what his capability is. LaMelo Ball or Lonzo Ball is a waste of time. He's a waste of time. And Yang is more hurt and overweight than ever. So if you're going to have to force me to choose one of those 3 names that were in that report, Cole Anthony is the one I would go for off the buyout market just to bolster scoring off the bench. And that's what it sounds like from what Grange's report is saying. Randolph's here. Good morning to Randolph Phillips. Beloved Raptor Freaks family, blessings. The silent cry of the masses prevents many from getting the help they desperately need. Your pain is real. Seek help. Seek help. Hang on, it jumped ahead. Before it's too late. Yikes. That sounds like grim in some ways. He's saying the silent cry of the masses prevents many from getting the help they desperately need. Are you talking about like mental health help or just like help for I don't know. I don't totally understand your words of wisdom here, Randolph. The silent cry of the masses prevents many from getting the help they desperately need. How's that interrelated? Are we talking about the masses or an individual? I don't know. I don't know. It's not totally clear. Your pain is real. There's a pain body for society. There's a pain body that we all collectively feel. There's really awful gaslighting and mental abuse going on by really fucked up people right now. People that control algorithms, people that control this or this. There's all kinds of fucked up shit. Like there's somebody. This is the craziest shit. And in some ways, I'm so pissed about this. There's obviously American espionage going on in Canada right now. Whether it's trying to buy off Danielle Smith and Alberta to separate, whether it's people coming up here and trying to cause division between Canadians politically, left versus right. There's another really weird one. They've made up this artist in the States. She's not a real person. And they've made this whole project where she's made plaques, and they're like plaques telling the future. And somebody in Toronto was walking on a bridge down near Skydome and all the train tracks and the golf course. And there's a plaque just on the concrete down there. All of a sudden, somebody just installed it, just out of the blue. And basically, this stupid ass plaque on there says the Battle of 2035 of Toronto. And it's going over, it's like a historical plaque that's from the future, but it's not. It's just some bullshit like mind fuck that somebody's doing psyops. It could be CIA, it could be fucking whatever bullshit. And it basically describes a battle in Toronto that happens in 2035 between the Americans and Canadians fighting for keeping our sovereignty and keeping America out. Now, as you come across this in Toronto, you walk up on this new plaque and you're like, whoa, what is this? And you start reading it. Can you understand how people are trying to fuck our minds with psyops bullshit? So if you see this bullshit art installation by a fake ass artist that does not exist, realize this is a CIA psyops. And if you see this, they're trying to say this is a cool art thing that they're putting out. They're under the guise that this is art. This is not art. This is a CIA psyops to try and encourage conflict. And also, in some ways, there's this whole thing of the Simpsons predicting the future in this bullshit. All this kind of crap. Maybe they're trying to write a history that they want to happen, where they're putting this whole history ahead of us that hasn't even happened, where they're saying that there's going to be a war between the United States and Canada. And I don't like this. I don't like any of this shit. There's another thing that's pissing me off is there's this commercial from the province of Ontario that's talking about Protect Ontario, and they have a new logo. And I know this is all Doug Ford's bullshit. I don't trust Doug Ford, man. He will sell us out to Trump and America in a heartbeat. Like that. He says he's tough against them and he's against them. He's full of shit. Don't believe him. Because I'll say this, I'm an autistic person. I have insight because I see patterns. What the fuck is that logo for Ontario Power or Power whatever, Protect Ontario logo? It's a new logo that the province that we pay taxes towards spent millions of dollars to make these stupid ass commercials talking about how we're going to protect Ontario by getting our industry up and mining and breaking all environmental regulations and trying to make us tough so that we're ready. It's bullshit. And the logo to me is a sign of some bullshit. Because what is it? It's a shield. And half of the shield is red and half of the shield is blue. What the fuck is that blue color doing in there, Doug Ford? Are you fucking trying to signal some bullshit about what you want to happen in the future, which is basically for you to bend over and let the U.S. fuck you up the ass, Doug Ford? Because listen, I want sovereignty. I want Canada strong. I want elbows up. I don't want nothing to do with the United States. Would you gonna make a logo for Ontario that's red, white, and blue? Yeah, you tell on yourself because I can see it in the pattern with my autistic mind what your long-term goal is. you motherfucking traitor piece of shit, Doug Ford. So yeah, reject any blue in the color for the Ontario shield or whatever, and realize Trump just fired Kristi Noem from being the head of the Department of Homeland Security and made her a new role, and it's called the America Shield boss, which is a made up role. It's not a real job. It's all bullshit. And he's trying to act like he didn't fail because she's a fucking wreck and she's fucking her friend on the plane and they're wasting all this money and she's a fucking criminal and all this shit. So they had to get rid of her because she has all kinds of problems all of a sudden. And now they're giving her this job called the America Shield, head of that, because they have this whole idea that the United States is going to be in charge of North America and South America, the whole entire thing. And the shield, well, I'm just saying, Doug Ford, don't give away your fucking part in it, you fucking traitor. So I say this right now. I was right about Julian Reese, right? I can see a pattern with Danielle Smith and Doug Ford and other progressive conservative politicians in Canada just bending over and letting the United States run us roughshod. Fuck that. Don't vote PC. Vote anybody but them. Pierre Poilievre is very openly, obviously, ready to just kowtow to MAGA in the United States. That's why we need leadership like Mark Carney. But I don't totally trust him. But understand the PC government is actually showing that they're ready to fucking hand us over to the United States. And you can hear me now and right now and understand this and go to the voting booth and understand that you cannot vote for that party because they are showing the signs that they will take our sovereignty away and make us a part of the United States. And I know none of that us want that up here. None of us want that, really. But these motherfuckers that are in charge, they don't give a shit about what we want anymore. They just care about money and their own political careers. Yeah. Anyway, that's a little aside right there. Blessings to the Phillips family, all the Raptor Freak families. Understand there's a psychological war going on. It's not about seeking help. It's about knowing that people are actively fucking with you and they're sending you shit that, you know, this is part of what I'm talking about. That plaque on that bridge downtown, this bullshit. And yeah, Doug Ford, your dumbass Protect Ontario logo. Yeah, it tells on you, motherfucker. Yeah, there should never been blue in that shit. All right, let's go. Let's keep going. Good game. Good morning, G. He's saying that Chibo, OG's brother, ran into Alex Wong from Hello and Welcome, and he wanted Raptors fans to know that OG did not want to leave Toronto. It was his home, and he wanted fans to know that because of rumors that said that he didn't want to. Yeah, not bringing this up to stir the pot. It's just nice to know how OG really felt. Well, this is the thing. When when we were having the exits of Anunoby, Siakam, and Van Vliet, we got different cues from each one. Freddie, you know, Freddie's cool. Freddie's fine. He did his in the summer. A lot of people were mad at him because he took the money. But if you were in his situation, you do the same damn thing. Don't even give me that. And in some ways, Fred is established and respects and loves his history of the Raptors because honestly, that is what made him into being who he is. So he loves the Raptors. We don't question Freddie's relationship with the Raptors. Pascal, extremely open, maybe the opposite of Anunoby as far as his exit and leaving and showering the love and just being very open about how much he loves Toronto. We know Siakam loves his part in the history of the Toronto Raptors and his life and what has happened with him. OG's quiet. He's an enigma. We don't hear him talk. We don't hear him talk on microphones. In some ways, when he got traded, it was the buzz of, getting Emmanuel and RJ coming here and then him going to New York. And they're going to overshadow everything that has to do with Anunoby and with the Raptors. And they're going to try and say that, he's not going to get the opportunity to say anything in some ways. He'll see a thank you post or something like that. So there was a lot of filling in what was going on there, right? There's a lot of filling in. Well, what's going on with OG? OG doesn't like us. He didn't say anything. Oh, he seems so happy in New York. I'm glad that this happened, that Alex Wong ran into OG's brother and he set the record straight because I know this is true too. There's a lot of speculation because of how awkward the last year of them being on the team was, that they were unhappy and they just needed to get out of here. That may be partly true, but don't misconstrue that energy as being somebody who hated being here or didn't like being here or didn't look at this as being home. And I think that's the message from this. It's like, OG's a quiet guy. He's not going to elaborate or talk on this very openly or out loud if he doesn't have the opportunity. And well, it's good that his brother speaks for him in some way. That's what I say right there. Yeah. Shaq Lindsay saying Shed in the doghouse. Yeah, people are upset with Shed right now. They're upset with Shed. I mean, I've been upset with him too in the last couple weeks, just because I want him to tighten up. But in some ways, it's this is how these things happen in the NBA. Confidence can really fuck you up, and then all of a sudden you're like you're in a bad slump. And I feel like Shed is just trying too hard once again. This is the biggest problem with him is sometimes he goes all out too hard and it messes up his game. And he needs to just slow down and let the game come to him. I feel like that's part of it. Once again, I feel like the biggest thing that Jamal Shed needs to work on this summer is his passing. He needs to become a better passer in the NBA, one that is not going to turn the ball over, and he's going to be sneaky. Maybe some bounce passes, maybe some learning how to do behind the back pass or no look pass, or just some different kind of stuff to shake it up. Because in some ways, that is an area that he can have a vast improvement. He could have a vast improvement in that area to me. Neil's saying this. Good morning to Neil. And thanks to Neil, Shaq, and Smooth for supporting the channel. Doesn't matter how OG felt. He is gone, and he was laughing with his team when they were destroying us at the end of the game. But that he had that laughs last best, and we will get the last laugh. I mean, you can't get mad at him for having the vibes and feeling good from success on his current team. And he's still going to be cool and stuff like that. I don't get mad at him for this. I mean, I'm mad at the Knicks in general for being cocky and not being good winners, including Milbester at the end of the stream yesterday. It's just, that's just the unclassiness of the Knicks organization and their fan nation. They've always been like this. We know this. That's why when they're successful, they're annoying as fuck. It's much better when they're losing and they're miserable because they can't act like this. In some ways, they're very similar to the Leaf Nation in that way. Because when the Leafs are on top of things, Leaf Nation can be very annoying. Let's just put it that way. Very, very annoying. All right, let's keep going. Neil's saying this. Good teams are taking the Raptors seriously. This is what it looks like when you can't sneak up on them. This is a process, and they're not a finished product. I think this is a great comment by Reggie. I think this is very astute. He's exactly right. We're a dangerous team, and there's a scout on us, and there are ways to beat us. And in some ways, our weaknesses are getting tapped into, and that's where the success is coming from for our opponents. And, the idea that we can't shoot threes is a huge weakness. And if we can fix that weakness better with personnel in this offseason, that can help a lot of the game planning against us and how successful it is. The zone busting we had to learn this season. There's all been different kind of trials and tribulations for the team as a whole. And they've gone through different places of this season where, whether it's we're missing these guys for injury, the zone is stopping us like crazy at this point in the season. Like, what is this? And now, 3-point shooting has gone bleh at times, and it absolutely puts us dead in the water. We had creative wins earlier this season where we did not shoot well, we did not play well, and somehow miraculously we still won. So this is completely true what Reggie's saying. This is part of the process, and that we're not a finished product. This is exactly right. Shaq Lindsay's saying, I'm sorry, but it is Bobby or Rogers I need to point the finger at. The Leafs last year were in a playoff hunt, and they made all kinds of trades and free agency pickups before the playoffs. Please ask yourself, did it help? Look at where they are now. Raptors have momentum, especially from last year. You're telling me the only addition is Trace, who you don't play? Well, I don't think that is going to be the only addition because of what Grange is saying now, that the Raptors are going to fill the last roster spot by the 15th of March, and we should have a new player for the bench that hopefully can address some of our issues right now. So it's looking like we're going to get a new player as of Grange's report. So we'll see what it is. We'll see how it is. I don't think it's a converting of one of our other guys and getting another guy on a two-way. I think it's actually a buyout market guy. And that means it'll probably be a veteran and somebody that can instantly be added that can hopefully help us, Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying that the Leafs get spent like crazy to try and make the run into the playoffs and be successful. And now we have this success, but some stuff's not happening. I mean, I was talking to Monique about it yesterday. I was saying to Monique that I really am starting to feel like Ed Rogers III's ownership of the team is a cheapskate in some ways. And I'm worried about that. Bobby said in the past, him and Masai said, in press conferences, we have no limits on what we can spend. Nobody's telling us not to spend or not do this. We can open the pocketbooks. But that may not be true at this point because the ownership changed last year, right? And that we're seeing some of the long-term over time signs that maybe Ed Rodgers is pinching pennies and cheaping out on different things, whether it's firing Savannah Hamilton or dismissing Masai Ujiri or just having an open roster spot that he doesn't have to pay for three-quarters of this season. And he's waiting till the absolute last second of the season for Bobby to fill that spot when it could have been filled since the beginning of the year. That to me points to a cheapskate, and a little bit of what Shaq's talking about right here. That's right. That's right. Jimmy's saying this 1 and 1.5 games back from Philly. Not good. Ahead of, not back. We're ahead of them. Yeah, I know that's not good. But once again, we get to control our destiny a little bit because we're going to play Orlando soon. And like ESPN's saying, those are going to be games they're going to be telling for how things go. No, I'm not trying to fumble things down into the play-in. We should be a playoff team still. And I know the guys on the team and Darko and the rest of the coaching staff are going to do their damnedest to hold our spot. Seriously. So, I don't think Philly's going to do jack shit. I think Philly is going to just they're threatening and they seem like they could, but I don't think they will. I think that once again, they're going to be Philadelphia and they're going to be on their path and they're going to be exactly who they're supposed to be in the way that they do things, whether Paul George missing, Joel Embiid being who he is, whatever it is. I don't think that they'll get above us. I don't, even though they're so close to us right now. I know it's scary. I'm more worried about, in some ways, Charlotte and those other teams in the play-in, maybe Miami, than Philadelphia. I'm not worried about Philadelphia as much. Yeah, Reggie's saying this. Suns and Raptors are almost the same type of team. They're having this similar issue on the other side. Well, that's the thing. We can look at their transcendence to higher up in the standings this year as a similar thing. But the levels of where they're hitting with it are not hitting the right way with the top teams in the West too. And now because they were like a top 4 team like us earlier this season at the Western Conference, and they've fallen a little bit at this point, right? They've fallen a little bit. Where are they at now? The Suns are in the play-in at the top spot of the play-in, but we got to say they're 2 games behind the Lakers, and never doubt the Lakers to screw up and fall back out, and the Suns get back out of the play-in. Because I could see that happening still, because the Lakers are on the down low, a dumpster fire in different ways, even though there's a lot of success for them right now. Yeah, Jimmy's saying I get being positive, but I'm genuinely worried. If we're making progress, we should be playing better at this stage of the season, and I'm seeing the opposite. Yeah, but where's the jump in the progress? In some ways, we're hitting a little bit of a wall and like seeming like we're not going anywhere. But in some ways, that's part of the whole process is to, you're going to stagnate and maybe not see the gains of the progress for a little bit. And it'll seem like failure. One of the things is this is a dangerous time for people to overreact and say, we're just too mid. And we got to blow it up and start over. That's the nephew reaction. It's like, oh, it's obvious this team isn't going to be good enough to win anything, which is bullshit. Because they're just hitting their heads now. They think this is the ceiling where we're hitting right now. That's not true. Now, I get what you're saying, but you also got to say this. Everybody's tightening up and playing better for the rest of the season. And as the comment said earlier, we're being respected and game planned for and not taken lightly. And these very top teams, these teams that have more experience than us, these teams that are older, are taking care of business against us because they know how dangerous we are. And this is the part of the season where they're tightening up too right now. It's just in some ways we're tightening up the whole year and playing a certain way, but other teams are tightening up now for the stretch run. And it's unfurling like this and how things are going right now. Does that make sense? That makes sense. In some ways, it's like, don't worry about us staying like this. This is not how we're going to stay. It's just that this may be a period for a little while right now that this is happening, but it could be by the end of the year, we turn the corner and we start beating top teams, or next year we come back after a good training camp, a good off season, and we're going into games where we play against top teams and we're taking a whole other level seriously. And our effort and our output and our results are way better because that's part of the climb of the rebuild right there. That's part of it right there. Reggie's saying this. Brandon Ingram is readjusting back to being full-time NBA guy. He's getting a pass from me right now. Yeah, I could say that too. In some ways, like I'm being nitpicky, but honestly, we have to give him some credit for the falling apart because he's so central to our plans. And he's obviously a guy who's turning the ball over or just not making shots when we're needing him the most, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to come down. Like when I criticize players like Shed or Brandon, it's not that I'm mad at them or I want the whole of Raptors Nation to turn on them and come at them. No, I'm trying to just be fair and show that I'm not just this crazy Raptors homer that doesn't see the negative things. In some ways, I have to talk about them. But whenever I say this kind of shit, I don't want people to go after Jonathan Mobo just because I said this, or go after Shed just because I said this. You know, that's not what this is. Some people may watch my show and they're like, oh, Raptor Street's going on about Shed this, Shed that. I hate Shed. I'm so mad at him. And then they're going after him in social media places. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. We're doing constructive criticism. And in some ways, it's not like crumple them up and throw them in the trash because we think that they're bad, that bad. That's too permanent. These are temporary issues. We got to work through them, and we stand with our guys and we believe in them and support them. That's the right way to be as a fan, right there. Jimmy's saying, I mean, Brandon has been a savior this season. Without him, I don't even want to think about where we would be. Well, yeah, he's the needle pusher. He's the one who puts us up here in the place where we are in the standings for sure. He's the biggest contributor to our upward climb in the NBA already. And the gains of Scotty are part of it. The gains of all the rest of the guys getting a little bit better as players from last summer. That's part of it too. And we added Sandro, we added Colin. These things help too. And this offseason we'll do more of the same, and we'll get better, and our guys will get older, and they'll have more experience. And Scotty will look better and better as the years go forward, as far as like going from fifth year to sixth year, whatever, because he's improved immensely. You cannot say that Scotty Barnes has not upped his game every single year in his career so far in his in the NBA. He has. He's in a whole other level at this point. And that's the thing. If he continues to strive and go forward, in some ways, Scotty is a really promising thing that people should say, this is why we're going to be better and get over this hump and be better, because Scotty has the potential to do so many things more, to be a more powerful player in the NBA. And he's trying, and he's going to be more and more. He's making his little jumps and leaps here and there as time goes on. I'll say it. I'll come in the stream after a game. I'll say Scotty leveled up again last night, guys. Scotty leveled up again last night. And I expect me to say that more for the rest of the season and even into next year for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Shaq Lindsay saying there's a black hole in the bench. Shed as good as he is on defense, he's been atrocious on the other end. And same goes for Jacoby. I know you're probably against this, but I truly believe we should pick up Chris Boucher if he's available. He's a vet that has experience and can help out on the bench. It's not that I'm against it. I would love to do it, but it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like been there, done that. I mean, we just had him on the team last year. And we've seen what it works with that. It's like, can't we try and go find somebody else that could help us even more, that will fit it even more? Because, there's two knocks with Chris. As much as we love him, he's not the best defender in certain ways, and he's not a passer in the ways that we want him to. So it's like, it's been there, done that. That's a sentimental move. And in some ways, I don't know if it actually does help our bench, considering that Darko didn't play him a whole lot last year, right? At the end of the year. So I don't know. There's other options. I would say, as much as I love Chris, Cole Anthony is a better option in certain ways, Let's see. G's saying that Dylan Brooks was arrested for a DUI. What? That's awful. That's not good. I don't like that. Let me see. Is this up on NBA? Are you sure this is true? I don't see it here. Maybe the ESPN don't want to put it up. Yeah. They're saying that Chauncey Billups could spend decades in prison. That's crazy, man. Decades in prison. Holy crap, man. That dude was up in with the mafia. If he's gonna be in there for that long, crazy. Well, we wish Dylan the best either way. If he got in trouble for a DUI, that's sad. Take it from a guy who's got a few DUIs himself. Yeah, that's no good. I hope Dylan gets help. And, alcohol is a demon. Seriously, it'll destroy your life. Take it from me. I know. Yeah, Jimmy's saying this. We're not in a rebuild anymore. Scotty's fifth season and Ingram's 28. We're not meant to be contenders yet, but we need to see more, period. Yeah, but who's to say where's the line and how high to jump? I mean, seriously, that's the whole thing. Like, none of us set those parameters. None of us set those parameters. None of us are the ones who set the standards or stuff like that. In some ways, you can't do that. Organically, when a team's rebuilding and growing and getting to new levels, that's on its own schedule. And it's like you can say they should do this by this time or this time, but that's nothing. That's not, you can't do that. You just can't do that. In some ways, it's like I say, when I say Bobby lives on the moon, the NBA team lives on the moon. And we can't estimate or gauge this or say this is where they should be on schedule. There's no schedule. There's no schedule is saying this is exactly where they should be at this point. We can't say that. It's really kind of what naturally occurs organically. We need to do all the right things to prepare and train and get better and play and practice. But the schedule of how it happens and when it happens is not determined like by, Bobby Webster gets the calendar out and says on October the 14th, 2026, we're going to be this on this date. You can't do that. Look at how other teams have spun their wheels and rebuilds and not gotten anywhere. And it's like, yeah, yeah. And then all of a sudden traction and then they get going like the Nuggets, you know? You can spin your wheels in what you're trying to do and which mode you're in the rebuilding and maybe a higher up. You're just saying we're not in a rebuild anymore, but that's not true. We are because we're going to rebuild the bench at least around the starters. The traction for when you get that jump up, like Brandon being a needle pusher this year, that is not always set in stone when it's going to happen or when you think it'll happen. It could happen just all of a sudden. And you'd be like, whoa, wow, they made a leap all of a sudden. Wow, this is awesome. They're winning way better all of a sudden because they made a leap all of a sudden. We don't know when that schedule is, though. It's not like you write it down on a piece of paper and then you try and aim for it. You hope and you want it to happen. You do all the things correctly as a coaching staff and a team and a front office, and you make it conducive in the settings for it to happen and grow, But there's all kinds of things that can get in the way. A pandemic, a move to Tampa. There's a lot of stuff that can go throw a wrench in it, right? There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Shaq saying, we are relying on leaders like Shed, who isn't really a vet, to get more production off the bench. Then this is the result. Chris is a true vet who has playoff experience. Bobby, bring back the Slim Reaper. Slim Reaper is actually Slim Reaper is Durant. Slim Sleeper is Ingram, and I've never heard Chris Boucher get Slim anything. He's Trey Boucher. I wasn't looking for any big moves. I just wanted a piece or two to help out the bench, whether it's in free agency or trade, buyout market, and that's what we're hearing in the next week by the 15th. The deadline for the WNBA is the 10th, and things aren't sounding good. Hopefully they can figure this out, but I'm going to look at it this way. Either we're going to get a condensed offseason in the tempo on time, or if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be disappointed. I've already decided. It's what's meant to be. This kind of goes back to the words of wisdom from Trevor. The path for the tempo may not seem like it's going exactly right because of a labor stoppage, but maybe this is exactly the path they need. Instead of expediting off-season in like a couple weeks, maybe if there is a work stoppage, they can have more time to get everything done in the right way to get it done correctly. I don't know. I'm trying to look at the bright side of whatever happens with this. Either way, they're going to either have to hurry up or they're just not going to do anything, right? Right now, at least. And maybe later on this year, they're going to have to hurry up and do it. I wish they would allow them to do all the expansion draft stuff, even with the work stoppage. But I guess they're not legally allowed to. That it's so convoluted. In some ways, I feel like this is a weird byproduct of this whole labor dispute that it's holding up the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo specifically. It's kind of It's annoying, man. It's annoying. Kaz is here. Good morning, Lex and Rat Freak Crew. Good morning to you, Trucker Kaz. You know what? Let me go ahead and do the stars of the game for last night, and I'll look at the box score real quick. My 3 stars of the game. My number 1 star is RJ Barrett. I feel like RJ was just the man. In some ways, he was in there keeping a quality standard for us of competing in the game. Even when other people were ineffective, RJ was always effective out there for the most part. 30 minutes, 25 points on 9 of 14 shooting. Great percentage. 4 of 5 from 3. In fact, those threes were so confident, and he was just like looking for them. He wanted them. That's the kind of competitor RJ is. He's just a scorer, man. He's a bucket, and we should be so grateful he's on our team. I want him on our team for a long time. I know he got posterized by Anthony, and he did that whole pose on him, and then RJ pushed him back. In some ways, that was annoying. And the NBA is putting that up all over the place right now. It was a phenomenal dunk. It was absolutely an insane dunk that Ant-Man threw down. It was really a badass dunk. And I hate that it was on RJ. I really do. 3 of 4 at the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 1 turnover, 1 block, a +3 for RJ Barrett in the 8-point loss. So yeah, he's a +3. So he had winning minutes when he was out there. And I love him for it. Yeah. My second star of the game last night is Emmanuel Quickly. Emmanuel was pretty solid too. In some ways, we've been seeing Emmanuel just very steady in certain ways. He had 1 dud game recently, but other than that, everything's been so good for like 2 months. 30 minutes, 18 points on 6 of 10 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3. I maybe would have wanted him to shoot more threes, honestly. Like they were saying earlier in the season, it's better when Emmanuel gets like 10 3-point attempts. I kind of agree with that. 4 of 5 from free throw, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 turnovers, 1 steal, +8. And Emmanuel was the highest plus minus of significant minutes for the team last night. So Emmanuel and RJ carrying their weight. And then my third star of the game and final star is Scotty. Scotty, he showed his powers at times. He was competing hard. We saw him play good defense on Anthony, and then he got posing and got all up in his face. And Edwards loved it. He absolutely loved it. Scotty got closed him down at the corner, and then he went, whoa, and he got all in his face like this. And Anthony was smiling about it. You know, they were on the same team at All-Star, and they probably bonded there. And in some ways, Scotty was looking forward to playing Anthony Edwards because he likes the challenge of guarding him. And well, he was really getting up for competing with him, and he really enjoyed the matchup. And he had mixed results with him. You know, in some ways, there's extra shit talk going on with Scotty and certain players in a different way all of a sudden after the All-Star break. Whether it's Jalen Brunson in New York Knicks game and now Anthony in this one. And in some ways, Edwards doesn't hate on it. It's not like there's a bad rivalry or enemies or hating each other. No, this is more like you know, a respect of let's play, talk trash, have fun, and get intense. And Anthony's kind of like, yeah, come on, Scott, get all jacked up. Maybe you'll jack me up enough to go throw down a crazy 2-handed dunk in a highlight reel. You know, but yeah, I love that. I love that kind of energy in some ways because it's old school. It's like this is Michael versus Reggie kind of shit. And I miss that in the NBA more. I feel like there's not enough of this kind of like the superstar. I'm going to go against the superstar, and we're going to make this a battle. And seeing Scotty and Ant kind of be like that last night was fantastic. There's a lot of dirty shit on the court last night. The Rudy Gobert is a dangerous player, a bit like Joel Embiid. I mean, there was one point where he just pushed Jakob in the face, and the refs didn't call jack shit. It was so dirty. He just like hit him and pushed him in the face. Nobody said anything about it. They didn't do anything about it. There was a couple times where Yak is getting physically abused by the Timberwolves, and there's no respect, and they don't call jack shit. And it's absolutely the kind of stuff that has no place in the NBA. Like when Gobert hit Yak in the head, that was uncalled for. And then this was kind of interesting. There was a little tussle rolling on the ground with Mamu and Naz Reid, and Naz Reid's arm got bent weird. It was almost like Sandro was stretching him like an old school wrestler, stretching him. He put him in a little hold like a crippler crossface, and he had his arm wrenched in there, and he kind of bent it back, and he went, maybe a little bit like that Marine this week with that bullshit in Washington. Um, yeah, I didn't feel sorry for Naz Reid. And the reason why is because there was so much physicality that they were doing, and it was dirty that I was like, yeah, you know what? You guys are going to play that way. In some ways, we're going to try and play physical too and get out there. I'm glad Naz Reid wasn't seriously hurt, but in some ways, you know what? Y'all are going to play that way. We're going to play physical too. You know, if Yak hits somebody because he got hit in the face by Gobert, I'm not upset about that. That's receipts. And, you know, the Timberwolves, this is what RJ said. In the second half, the Timberwolves upped their physicality and ratcheted it up, and we didn't respond well. And that was part of the reason why they won. And, you know, once again, the referees are doing insidious shit. Like they're calling weird fouls at weird times to kind of remind the Raptors, don't play all out because we're watching you, and a touch foul will go against you. Simone Jelks does not like the Raptors. She does not like the Raptors. She's a bad referee for us. She has a proclivity to go against us. Ben Taylor is the other way, though. Ben Taylor looks out for us, guys. I know that he had that incident with Fred a long time ago, a couple years ago, but Ben Taylor is a good ref for the Raptors. I'm just going to say that. He's very fair, and he looks out for us to a degree. He calls it down the line, and we actually get fair calls with Ben Taylor refereeing in the game. So I appreciate him. Sean Corbin was all right, but man, Simone Jelks is not nice to the Raptors. She is not nice. I felt like the refs were overall pretty good, but there was ref manipulation at times in the second half to help get the Minnesota Timberwolves going. In some ways, you can tell when it is. It's at the beginning of the third quarter. When they come back from halftime, both of the teams are coming out all out because they got their speech from their coaches, and they're trying to set the tone for the second half to try and win the game. And well, the Raptors are very good at doing stuff in the fourth quarter and earlier in the season. But at this point, what's happening? Well, part of it is the referees are doing weird touch fouls and weird calls, and some of it is not going our way, and it's really pissing us off. And there's some weird, crazy, weird calls in different places. And yeah, some of the stuff was just like touchy shit. Scotty got called for a touch foul on Anthony Edwards in the third quarter. And I was like, yeah, they're actively trying to put Scott in foul trouble to take him out of the game. You know, just really dumb fouls. Like they're getting away with doing all kinds of physical stuff. And Scotty's just kind of hand checking Anthony just a little bit. And there's a fucking foul by Simone Jelks all of a sudden. So yeah, there was some of that going on. But I would say the crew chief, Ben Taylor, he was definitely very fair with us. It's just other stuff was kind of goofy calls at times. If I'm going over the ref manipulation or the ref reports stuff from last night. Ingram, tough night, is one of his worst games as a Raptor, honestly, on the down low. It really was. 14 points in 30 minutes, 5 of 16. Yeah, even when he got the shots open, they were just not hitting. And yeah, it was just a tough game for him. 0 for 1 from 3, 4 of 7 at the free throw line. In fact, the 3 straight missed free throws were a momentum killer in the second half. Like, seriously, we're down by 15 or 10, and we're trying to come back at the end of the third quarter, and Brandon gets 3 free throw attempts, and he misses 3 consecutive free throws. That's 3 points right there that could have built momentum. And that's an area where we're messing up on an easy thing. You got free throws, Brandon. Hit your free throws. That'll give us more points, and that'll give us more momentum coming back at them and to maybe close the lead up and maybe actually snatch the win. But no, you're going to go up there and you're going to mess up free throws. That's a buzzkill. That hurts the Raptors being able to start to get a run going. Because it's like, oh, man, he missed it. And then we're all psychologically doing the math and saying, man, if we had those 3 points, we'd be here instead of being here still down by 15. It's annoying, man. That shit is annoying to me because, like, you know, he's a good shooter. He's a fantastic shooter. Missing free throws because of lack of concentration late in the game, there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that. 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal, a minus 27 for Brandon. That is a sign right there that something ain't right as far as him helping our team and to win. A minus 27. In some ways, he was the primary scorer guy, the primary target to isolate and play and post up, but he is a fail and going to him was a fail, and it added to us losing is what was going on. In some ways, that's where I say you pivot to Barnes and Barrett more if it just isn't happening with Ingram. And if you got to have to rely on Barrett and quickly and Barnes more in the fourth, and there is a big shot late, and Barrett, Brandon has not been gone to for a while, then you go to him right at the end and let him hit that dagger right at the end. But you go through Barrett and quickly and Barnes if your guy's been struggling the whole game. You don't feed him from the start at the fourth quarter just so he can turn the ball over and miss shots and not get you any momentum going in the right direction, because he'll kill your momentum when he turns the ball over or stuff like that. No, give it to RJ. He's more, in some ways, he's more trusted in this situation. Because look, I know that RJ's got the big balls to take the big shots and fail and succeed with whatever happens. So, yeah, Jakob out there last night, 29 minutes, 9 points on 4 of 5 shooting, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals, and a block, a minus 23. He didn't have a very good plus minus. You know what they did really well in the first half, and they should have done this more throughout the entire game, was they were running their offense through Jakob at the very beginning of the game. You guys notice that? They were doing some of the stuff that we did last year that was so successful, which is having Jakob at the high post and as the hub, and he's holding the ball at the top, and they're running all around him in different ways, and we're cultivating really good high percentage shots, and our offense is working, and we're winning. There's no coincidence in that if you're running the offense through Jakob in the high post, you're going to find success. So I liked seeing that, and I like seeing Yak continue to get his energy back and his legs under him, his conditioning, and play more. It seemed like in the beginning, all the minutes that he was out there, he was necessary. We need to play him a lot because of Gobert and McDaniels and these big guys on their team. That in some ways we needed him out there just to negate Rudy Gobert. And there was that little bit of back and forth between Rudy and Yak, where Rudy kind of came in and dunked it. And then Yak did a really interesting reverse layup, Fluterhosen was what I call it, where he kind of just came up around Gobert and laid it up. It was a little bit of back and forth, not exactly Ant-Man versus SB4, but Gobert versus a Jakob kind of matchup, battling back and forth. That was kind of fun for a second there too. Yeah. Off the bench, Sandro was our best bench player. He gave us 11 points on 5 of 8 shooting, 24 minutes. He made 1 of 2 threes. He missed his only free throw. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 steal, 1 block, a -8. Yeah, Sandro finally kind of producing something and getting some points from him. Jamison Battle got 10 minutes, went 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting. He missed both his 3-pointers. 5 rebounds, 1 assist, no turnovers, a +7. And we also got Jamal Shed, 17 minutes, only 2 points on 1 of 7 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3. 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 turnovers, -19. Yeah, a tough one for Shed. In some ways, like I said, he's got to slow down, let the game come to him, and you're pressing too much, man. You're pressing too much. You can press on defense, but don't do it on offense, is what I'm saying. Jacoby, tough game too. Very similar line to Jamal's. 17 minutes, 2 points, 0 for 2, 0 for 1 from 3, 2 for 3 at the free throw line. So he got his points at the free throw line. He got fouled on a 3-pointer, and he missed one of the shots. And if he had made all 3, we would have been ahead by 1 point. But we were tied after those 3 free throws that he took because he made 2 out of 3. 1 turnover, 1 steal, a -4. Yeah, those 2 guys got to be more effective. In some ways, that's the tough thing, man. We could say part of what's going on with Jamison, Jonathan, Jamal, and Jacoby, the 3 J rooks from last year, is a sophomore slump. As these guys are all in their second year, they're not as fresh out of the box as they were last year. And all of them are going through a little bit of a sophomore slump on the down low in different places. Jacoby had it early in the season, has played very well in the middle of the season, and now he's kind of showing a little bit of a slump now. Shed's had a couple of different times he's slumped a bit this year. Jonathan is perceived to be slumping, and Jamison Battle ain't hitting his threes exactly like he did last year, right? Maybe we could attribute it to a second-year slump, and that's just a normal thing. The J Rooks are no longer J Rooks. They're J Softs, J Sophomores. You know what I'm saying? The garbage time was actually really promising. I was happy with the garbage time in major ways because I like that Darko didn't play the guys all the way up until the bitter end. He kind of said, you know what, this is not going to happen. Not in this settings in Minnesota, the Target Center, with this crowd riled up and going crazy because of Anthony Edwards dunking and stuff like that. So let's wave the flag and let's not overuse some of our guys who are hurt, like Scotty and Brandon on the down low, still have a little bit of nagging injuries. So take them out and let's get almost 4 minutes of garbage time for the youngsters who are chomping at the bit to get in. And that means we get Trace and Grady out there for a little bit of time right at the end of the game. And honestly, they won those minutes. We were down by almost 20 points when they came in, and they shrunk the lead down to 8 by the end of the game. So they outscored them at the end, +8. And I really appreciate the young Raptors that came in late, especially Grady, because we know Grady's got a confidence problem right now. And for him to come out there, because we saw Grady hit a little elbow shot at the free throw line, a little nice little offensive move where he dribbled to his spot and elevated and shot in money. And that's the Grady last year that was starting. In some ways, if he has room to operate, he is a gifted scorer. It's just that it's not translating to results or happening on the court right now. And whatever reason it is, whether it's the emergence of Brandon being on our team, whether it's Jacoby playing better than him, whether it's RJ this in or out or whatever, whatever the reason is, to give Grady a little bit of time out there to do a couple things right is a really good little seedling to start growing more confidence for him. And I feel like what he did at the end of the game was fantastic. I'll give him honorable mention, actually. 4 minutes for Grady, 6 points, 2 of 4. He missed the only 3 he took, and him and Jamison being 0 for 3 from 3. Yeah, it's annoying. 2 for 2 at the free throw line, though. 1 rebound, 1 assist, a +8. And yeah, he got 6 points in 4 minutes. So I can't hate on that. Trace came in and he got some rebounds while he was out there. 4 minutes, 4 rebounds, 2 points on 1 of 2 shooting. And he was a +8 also. Yeah, Jonathan, 9 minutes. He got some time early, and people are like, why is he playing? I talked about it earlier why. 9 minutes for Jonathan. He didn't score, but he got a rebound, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and a block, and he was a +4. He's just an all-round big body, and in some ways, he's a very good defensive player, guys. He can cover up on certain things, and Darko probably trusts him in certain ways more in our defensive system, working off the other guys than TJD right now. And that's more of an answer for why he may have played before Trace did in this game last night. But yeah, those are the players for the team. We'll look at Anthony Edwards, who he shot really well, 8 of 12 yesterday. That's really good. That's really good. His career stats against our franchise, he shoots like 36% normally, but he shot 8 of 12 with 22 points and 34 minutes, 5 of 8 from 3. Yeah, those threes were nasty and so confident. The dude is really good, man. Like he is on a level towards Jordan in certain ways. He really is. I don't say that lightly. There's a lot of different people that have come out since Michael Jordan, and you say it and it's kind of hollow, but in some ways he has some of it. He has some of it in him, like Michael Jordan, because it's like that. 4 rebounds and 4 turnovers also for him. Yeah, he was solid. They had a couple of different people that were contributions. They had 6 guys in double digits. You have Gobert with a double-double, 18 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, a +18. Of course, Rudy is always a factor. Even if he's goofy, even if he shoots the craziest free throws, he's still a factor. We really did a good job on Randall to an extent. 5 of 11 for him. I felt like RJ guarding Randall was a good idea because the strength and the familiarity is there too. That's one of the things, like, in some ways we have guys that can play their former Knicks because we have former Knicks. And like DiVincenzo versus Quickly is an interesting matchup because there's a lot of friendship there and shit talking. It's similar to playing the Knicks. When we play them, those guys, there's going to be talking. And Randall and RJ are such an interesting matchup when they play each other because they're 2 lefties and they have such a history from playing together on the Knicks. And there was, in some ways, it's interesting to see the 2 former Knicks battle each other. And I feel like in some ways, RJ understands Julius better than most players, and he has some advantages against him defensively because he's had a lot of time around him. Does that make sense? Yeah, Jaden McDaniels is annoying. He at some point got really pissed off, and Bones Highland yelled at Simone Jelks at one point because he wanted her to give him the ball to inbounds quickly. And she got really mad at him, and they kind of had to talk to him because she wanted to establish like disrespecting her just because she's a woman. It ain't right. Chris Finch was talking down to her a lot of the game and kind of being sarcastic and jerk. And then, like, in some ways, she had to regulate and say, "Look, I'm a referee. Y'all need to respect me because I'll fuck you over." And she gave a technical to them, and we got a technical free throw. So there's different stuff. In some ways, Bones wanted to inbound the ball because he didn't want the Raptors to have a chance to call a challenge. And well, that's why he got all upset and mad. Well, we were going to call it anyway. And thankfully, it's weird that one play where the out of bounds call on Jacoby Walter, that was not out of bounds on Jacoby. That was actually out on Bones. It's just there was one angle that obscured the look at it where it looked like it deflected off of Jacoby. And that's what I think they went off of. And that's why we lost that challenge, which was stupid. We shouldn't have lost that challenge. Jacoby was right. And it should have been Raptors ball. It was off Bones Highland. It was stupid. Yeah. Io is a really good add to this team. I'm going to say that right now. He's a plus 25, the highest plus minus on this team. And of course, Dante DiVincenzo is annoying with his 3-point shooting and the way he does things like with that. The team stats, we'll go over them real fast. They shot better than us percentage wise, 52% to 49%. They did make one more field goal than us, 13-9, and the 3-pointers made. And once again, that we're not winning in that category enough this year. And hopefully, maybe next year we will. We got about the same amount of free throw attempts as them, but we shot worse than them. We missed 6 free throws, and those are annoying, man. We got out rebounded by just 1 rebound, which is good. Considering how good of a rebounding team the Timberwolves are, that it was 40 to 41 in the rebounds. That's not that bad. That's pretty good. We held our own with that. Assist to turnover ratio, we were under 2 to 1. 22 assists, 14 turnovers. I would have liked to seen closer to 30 assists. And on the other side, 24 assists with 13 turnovers. They were almost 2 to 1. Almost 2 to 1. Yeah, fast break points, even 14 to 15. And then we beat them in the paint, 52 to 48. But yeah, in some ways, it's like 3-pointers do us in. That's already a deficit right there, where if we're not making as many threes as the other team, we're getting outscored, right? We're getting outscored. So yeah, let's see. Kaz is saying, good morning, Lex and Rat Free Crew. Good morning to you. Shaq Lindsay saying, problem is Bobby is looking for big fish instead of tinkering with our roster. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if he's looking for big fish. I think that what he needs to do is if he has an open roster spot, he wants to make the team more competitive. Go get a vet that can score off the bench. And that may solve a lot of our issues. I don't know if it's Cole Anthony. Maybe it is Cole Anthony, guys. As much as I'm not thrilled with him as a player, he has some certain X factors in his weird build as a player that make him like he has a chip on his shoulder. And he's the kind of guy that will get pissed off and just go off and try and get 20 all of a sudden. So he can be a detriment too, as far as he's a fail and he doesn't successfully do what he's doing and he tries too hard. But at the same time, sometimes he's successful and he absolutely kills the other team and gives his team victories. We've seen it ourselves against us when he's been on Orlando. So I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. I don't think he's trying to swing for the fences. I think that he needs to make the appropriate add-on that fits a couple of categories of need that we need right now. And most of it is 3-point shooting and scoring off the bench. Yeah, and maybe a little bit of veteran know-how on how to close games and help the team to win, something like that. Let's see. Reggie saying, as much as the Boucher back to the Raptors makes for nice headlines, he doesn't help. He's a freelancer. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if we really valued him and wanted him to be on this team, he would have stayed on this team and we would have invested in him last year and he would have stayed on our team. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make any sense. This is total sentimentality that drives an opinion to say we should go get Chris Boucher back. I mean, I love him, man. And in some ways, he may want that himself, but that doesn't mean that's the right move for our franchise. That doesn't mean it's the right move. Shaq Lindsay saying, all I heard during the trade deadline was AD, Sabonis, or Ja. Why can't we just get a small goldfish like Keon or Jock Landell? Chris's fit would be seamless on and off the court. Well, we know that, but it doesn't mean that it's the right move. We want to get the most improvement. And once again, I said that we've been there, done that. And there's an obvious reason why he's not on our team anymore. So it doesn't make any sense that he would be that target. You know what I'm saying? I get what you're saying as far as this. I think that was all hype, and we're just used in those conversations. I don't think that Bobby actually was going to get any of those guys. I think that if you're thinking, oh, he's big fishing because of trade rumors Jake Fisher put out, that's not true. That's not true. Keon Ellis, didn't he get hurt after he got traded? Jock Landell is a great idea, but he got traced. That's the move he made, and it's similar to those two names that you just said in some ways. Trevor's saying all the 3-point specialists on our team maybe have to take 2 days by just shooting the ball. You saying that they need to just take 2 days to just shoot the ball all today and tomorrow before we play Dallas Mavericks? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I want Grady out in the gym taking 1,000 shots every day right now. I think that that's the smart thing for him to do. Yeah, I think that's the smart. Jameson, it couldn't hurt either. Really couldn't hurt. Yeah, Shaq Lindsay saying there really is chemistry between Scotty and Chris. Yeah, but you're not listening to me, man. Let it go. It doesn't make any sense. Think about it logically. You're thinking with your heart. You're thinking with sentimentality and nostalgia. You're thinking with let's go in the past because I'm scared of the future and I don't want the future to be different. So let's hold on to something that's familiar from the past and bring it back. It's not the right way to go. Just trust me. It's not the right way to go. That we've been down that road. He was a Raptor for a long time. The guy was on our team for like 7 years, man. And the time came and gone. That's it. I wish we'd stop talking about this. Let's not bring up Chris. Seriously. I love Chris. I hope Chris plays in the CBL this summer, but I don't see him back on the Raptors, guys. This is a dead topic. We don't need to keep beating over the head. Smooth saying the Lakers can't beat good teams either. They're not gelling. See that? There you go. There you go. There you go. And in some ways, their problems are deeper than ours because we have a promising future going forward. They're going to have to start rebuild over once LeBron leaves. They're going to have to start over. In some ways, they can say, oh, no, we're already ahead because we got Austin and Luka paired together. No, you guys are going to have to start over. Trust me. You're going to see it. You're going to see it. G's saying this. Before garbage time, the bench points were 31 versus 13 for the Raptors, mostly from Mamu. Yeah, almost all of it. Not going to blame the bench players or anyone, just noting this needs to be addressed next to make another leap. Like I said yesterday, or the reaction to the New York game, it's not necessarily about getting a ton of bench points, especially if you have a very talented starting lineup that takes the bulk of the scoring. But it is nice to have those people that do that. But there have been a lot of teams in recent years, like the Celtics and the Knicks, who don't get any bench points, and they score all their points in their starting lineup. So this is not absolutely essential to be successful and get to the next level. But it's something that could help, yeah. But teams can find a way to win with their primary scoring all coming from the starters. It's really the big thing is execution at the end of the game and doing things correctly so that you win. It's not necessarily getting more bench production. Sure, that's something they put on TV all the time. But in some ways, it's stupid that they do that. Like the whole fact that announce crews make a big deal of the bench scoring. We're getting outscored this much by the bench. I mean, in some ways, you could look at it as saying this is a gauge of saying, well, this is the area where they're outscoring us is because they have 20 more points off their bench than we do. Yeah, that's the deficit. But if our starters score 30 more points than their starters, we win by 10, right? So it's a big deal, but it isn't. It's an indicator, but it isn't in some ways. And it is, but honestly, you're right. If we can improve our bench production, it'll make a lot of things a lot easier for sure. For sure. Jimmy's saying, I hope we do bounce back, Lex, and hit our stride going in the playoffs, going to manifest it. Yeah, I can see it. I just think that we're in a middle of the season doldrum that is just a tough stretch. And maybe we're not completely our sharpest right now, but we're healthy, knock on wood. That's good. And we do have the promise of a couple of teams that we're going to play in the next 2 months that are easier to beat, and we can get some more building off of. And maybe, I was hoping we could beat the Timberwolves last night. so that we could say, yeah, we can beat a top team. And yeah, we are moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, it didn't happen yet, but it could be the next top team we have to play where we show something really amazing. And all of a sudden, yeah, Raptors Nation's feeling way better because it really is Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? And we have short memories as a Raptors nation. And they're looking at the losses right now and they're feeling them. And that's why it informs all the things. But if we have another win, like we beat Thunder at home in Oklahoma City, we're going to feel good after that all of a sudden again. And it's just we need that next one. And when if we had beaten the Knicks this week or the Timberwolves, either one of those games, we would have got those good feelings back again all of a sudden. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Well, the next time we get a very top level opponent, we got to do it then. And then maybe we'll get those feelings back, right? Reggie's saying this Lakers bench guys are not doing it. They're into the lifestyle, not the games. Yeah, I mean, I could told you that. To play in LA, you have to be very disciplined because there's so many distractions. And some people may just come there and just be like, "Yeah, I'm a Laker. Woo, I want to go, yeah, the lifestyle. I want to live that Jerry Buss Showtime Lakers life." And in some ways, I'm not prioritizing my basketball career because of the Hollywood lights and glamour. You know what I'm saying? The parties and the nightlife and stuff like that. Yeah, I can see that. They've got a young bench. They got DeAndre Ayton. Yeah, I can see this. I can see this. Shaq Lindsay saying we need a freelancer off the bench. Production is stalled like the tariffs did to our auto sector. Well, you know what? The auto sector thing, I mean, why would that happen? They're American companies, right? Ford or whatever, but different plants, they're here. They're American companies. So it's like if there's tariffs and all kinds of stuff, it totally makes sense they'd shut down plants up here because it costs more money to go across the border. And in some ways, that's not our fault. That's not that's the bullshit's fault that's happening. And I feel bad for people that work in the auto sector here in Canada that may have lost their jobs because of the tariffs and Ford doing this or doing that or GM doing this or doing that. But I mean, I don't. This is partly our fault for having American corporations have such a big deal for jobs in our country. That's why we need to do Canadian for ourselves. Because, like, look, they're an American company that operates here, and we're at their mercy to have our plants open and have our people working. That's an easy way that they can fuck with us. Just close the plant, and there's more unemployed in Canada. In some ways, that's what I say. You want to make Canada strong? Well, maybe we need our own automotive company that we make our own cars. No, instead we'll go ahead and we'll get the electric cars from China. In some ways, that's retaliatory for job cuts in the auto sector here in Canada. But I mean, this totally makes sense. What do capitalists do? They want to save money. And well, if it's more expensive to manufacture cars in Canada because of tariffs and bullshit that Trump made up, well, obviously we're going to lose Canadian jobs in that sector. And it's not that I like that, but in some ways, that's the dumb strategy of us. That's part of the sad thing about the relationship between Canada and the U.S. is so intertwined, and we've relied on each other for so much for so long, and it's broken to an extent. And in some ways, we're disentangling ourselves from them to an extent, and we're going to try and branch out to other parts of the world. But there are a lot of relationships that have been long-standing between Canada and the U.S. in all kinds of different ways, and they're disintegrating. And that's why I say today, if you're going to buy orange juice, buy it from Beatrice. This is a straight up Canadian company. And you ain't got the U.S. involved at all with Beatrice. At least I don't think, as far as hopefully not. But yeah, Beatrice has been a Canadian company for a while. Beatrice has been providing Canadian families with the wholesome benefits and great taste of milk and orange juice for generations. Proudly made with milk from Canada Dairy Farms, our products are great tasting and nutritious. Beatrice is committed to the well-being of its consumers and helps them to make healthy choices. Enjoy our full range of healthy and delicious products from milk to creams. We also offer a wide variety of premium milks to meet your health needs and juices also. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Beatrice, a good Canadian company. For generations, Beatrice has been creating wholesome, nutritious products. That's actually the same thing that's on the thing is there. Either way, this is a Canadian company, and if you're buying juice or milk, Beatrice is a name that you can buy and feel good about supporting our economy. And that's what I'm talking about. You can go buy a Nestle or something like that. Those are a foreign company, and that's not staying here, right? Bryce is here. Good morning to Bryce Lawson, Raptor Freak, holding it down for us in the bluegrass state of Kentucky. Let's see what he's saying. This team is still somewhat ahead of schedule. We are still about 1 or 2 years until we become a legit playoff team contender. It's all about next year to me. This summer is big for everyone, including the front office. Let's get some experience and see what needs to be fixed, adjust accordingly this offseason, and continue to grow chemistry. I think Bryce has got it right on point. The young man sees it clearly, and I think he's about right with his timeline too. We could have a really good offseason again. And this is the thing. Darko has increased his win total every season. He's going to want to do that next year too, right? And that may be the thing to gauge him by, right? It's kind of the thing we gauged Casey by when he was our coach. Every year that Casey coached us, he started really bad. He had a horrible season his first year. The second year, he had a little bit better season, but still not a good enough season. And then he broke through. And then all of a sudden, the Raptors were one of the top Eastern Conference teams, and we were winning a lot in the regular season with Casey and DeMar and Kyle. So, that's the kind of thing we want to look at is like he got 25 wins. He got 30 wins. He's going to get almost 40 wins or more than 40 wins this season for sure. He's almost at 40 wins. So it's like we want to see his win total jump up each year. Next year's going to be tough because we've had such a successful year. If we don't win as many games next year as we did this year, that could be considered a failure, right? So Darko's got to strive and try and achieve a higher win total every season as he coaches the Raptors. That's the best thing to do. Now, is he going to get it every single time? Probably not. There will be a point where maybe he loses a couple more games a year after he was more successful. But that doesn't mean throw him out and say he's no good unless it is an absolute disaster. So, yeah, I like what you're saying here, Bryce. I think you're about right. Next year, we could be a real better contender with just a couple of adjustments, and it could be from the front office's moves. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. G saying this, I feel the same. I want to give some constructive criticism, but I don't want fans to run with it and make it toxic. It's out of love and care for the team. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like in some ways I have to be responsible. If I melt down like William Liu, like a king nephew, that could be a role model for other people to feel justified to melt down in that kind of way. So in some ways, it's like, yeah, this world needs more mature role models as far as like how to deal with different things that are going on, whether it's basketball with the Raptors or in the world today. And being a nephew role model like William Liu sometimes melting down after losses, that's not the right role model for Raptors fans. No, be clear-eyed about it and look at it for what it is and understand the whole big perspective is what you got to do. You got to do that. And Bryce is seeing it. I see it. Yeah. Jimmy's saying, I think we can all agree. We just want these guys to succeed. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we're fans. And that's the difference. This is the crazy thing is some people, they act like they're Raptors fans, but they don't give a shit about whether we're good or not. They just like to be entertained and watch it. And in some ways, they get entertainment from kicking us while we're down. They'll say they're Raptors fans. That's like these are toxic fans. And we've had them in Raptors Nation since the beginning, since the very beginning, 31 years ago. People that are like, yeah, I like the idea of the Raptors. It's cool that there's an NBA team in Canada. But also at the same time, on the down low, I kind of think of them as a joke, even though I identify as one of their fans. That kind of energy pisses me off because it's disrespectful. In some ways, it's cheating and fakery. It's like, dude, if you don't really like the Raptors, but you say you're a Raptors fan and you act like this and you laugh at them when they fail, when you kick them when they're down, you're not a fan. You're a hater. You're a fucking toxic person. And I feel like there's too many of these kind of people in Raptors Nation. And they try and come at me and say, no, you're toxic because you're too positive. No, bro, you're not helping anybody with your toxic ass, goofy ass clowning around and laughing at, the Raptors when they fail and like putting them down, stuff like that. Nah, I ain't about that. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. G saying this. I did a deep dive into shooting coaches and found that one man, Chip England, was with the Spurs and is known to be the one to unlock Kawhi. He went to OKC and worked with SGA, Chet, and Jalen. I've heard his name before. So you're saying we need to try and get him? That's what you're saying? There's a thing that they came out with recently where a fan experience, you can go down and I think people were doing this recently. I don't know where. It was like a fan event. and people were able to use the Noah system. Like you could go use it yourself. Come down to OVO Center, and we're gonna let the fans try out what the Raptors get to use for their shooting OVO Noah system. You could get firsthand experience with the Noah system if you want to, fans. Go down there. Yeah, maybe you go down there and when nobody's looking, do something shifty and destroy it or something. I don't know. Throw it in the lake. That's what we used to say. Let's take the Noah system off the wall, carry it across the street, across Lakeshore Boulevard, and throw it into Lake Ontario. Yeah. Yeah, because man, that since that Noah system's shown up, the Raptors shooting has not been good. It really has like coincided with it. Seriously. And this has been going on for what, 5, 6 years now? We got the Noah system because Nick wanted it. And our shooting has not gotten better. Our shooting has gotten worse over this whole period of time. So I'm like, what the fuck does the Noah system do for the Raptors? Seriously. What does it do for the Raptors? Maybe Chip would do better for us. That's right. Maybe he would. We are definitely still rebuilding and retooling for sure. For sure. And we will be changing some things this summer according to what we need. That's right. G saying maybe our summer moves are going to be behind the scenes moves like the Jays did, getting a batting coach that helped their offense, taking their development to the next level. Well, the one thing I will say is Darko has not changed his coaching staff since he came. It has not changed at all. So I wouldn't hold your breath on this. Maybe they can bring in a specialist coach just to help on the side. Like y'all have called for lethal shooter earlier this season, and now you're bringing up Chip England. Yeah. So maybe, yeah, I can see this. But I wouldn't say that they're probably going to be on as official staff. I think that Darko's 10 coaches that he's got are just going to be who he's got because he likes them, and in some ways he's working with them. But I mean, if Lethal Shooter came to Toronto and did a whole thing with the Raptors this summer at some point, that would probably be good, right? Put that little goal up with the nails. You got to shoot it so good or you'll pop the ball. Look out. Look out. Let's see. I'm on Jimmy. In my eyes, a rebuilding team is a team seeking their draft picks to be good, and we're not trying to do that. We're trying to win. Retooling means I would say, sure. That's just semantics, and that's just your own personal difference in what you see. I think rebuilding is all the way up to the championship. You can be a rebuilding team, and you're in the playoffs, in the finals, and you lose. You're rebuilding to get to the championship. So it's just semantics. It's just the way you look at the word structure and what it means. And to me, a rebuild, it's not necessarily you're a lottery team and you're getting high draft picks. No, it's a team that is trying to build up and get to new levels more and more. And you can be on higher levels and you're still a rebuilding team. That's at least my personal view of it. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. It's just that it's like you're the eye of the beholder on that term and what you think it means. To me, a rebuild means all the way up to the second Larry O'Brien. Seriously. Bryce is saying this. BI's dunk on Gobert was better. Yeah, there was some nice moves. I really like Brandon being aggressive and going to the hoop. He did that a few times last night. In fact, that was his most successful part of his offense last night, was getting past the defense and getting right the hoop for a layup or a dunk. And he had like 3 or 4 baskets that way. He did. In some ways, that was the easiest baskets he could get. He just puts on the Jets a little bit. He sees an opening. He gets around them, and he's at the hoop, and he can dunk it with such long arms. And I like him being aggressive like that. I don't know how much he was doing that for the Pelicans the last 2 years he was there, especially while he was hurt. But also at the same time, you have to have that gumption, that want to go and risk your physicality getting hit by a big guy like Gobert and being aggressive and taking to the rim. And I like that he did that. Sometimes that's part of the reason why guys just settle for the outside shot, is because they're trying to save themselves from possible injury or getting hit by people and taking the lumps and the physicality. Brandon is going green light. When he sees that path, he's going and attacking the rim. And I like that latest development with him. That is really important. These are easy baskets for him to go get. G saying Rogers got rid of the sports science director for the Leafs and got rid of 80 jobs in MLSE. Cheapskate may be very real. I'm pretty sure this is what this is. You can look at what they've done since the switch. And one of the main things they did after Ujiri is gone, and this is probably why they couldn't have Ujiri around this season and they had to dismiss him last summer, is all the over promoting of the Raptors brand with other things. Like we can see the Raptors we're always kind of doing like cross promotions with big corporations like Gillette and Ford and Pizza and all these different companies. But it seems like they're times 10 this year. Whether it's like there's way more little contests, like do the McDonald's shooting contest with Raptors on the app. All you can go look at the Raptors app and you'll see like all this stuff. Hellman's and Raptors bring you this and this. It's like it's way more. And this was something I warned about last summer. Was one of the things that Masai Ujiri did for the Toronto Raptors was he was a brand integrity officer. In some ways, he was building the whole motif of We the North and the whole identity of the Raptors on a quality level. And at this point, the quality control for what we get branded with or put together with is out the window. Whatever people will pay money to put the Raptors together with them, Rogers and Pelly are like, yeah, come on in. We're doing it. And the partnership with the Bills is symbolic of this. The over just, even moving the broadcast booth back so that they could have extra seats next to the court. It's all about this and making as much money in every different area as possible. This is part of what Keith Pelly's job is. And in some ways, Keith Pelly's been a guy who's been involved with the golf and hockey and TSN. And he likes to build like connections. And he's probably exactly responsible for the partnership with the Bills. Like it was probably his project and his whole thing. And he loves it. He's like, oh, we're going to get the football connected to the basketball. And it's going to be great opportunities for cross-pollination and all kinds of financial opportunities. They're thinking about this a lot more in some ways this year than years past. They've always thought about this to a degree, but this is a little bit different. The floodgates are open, and this may be one of the biggest reasons why they dismissed Masai is because Masai may have been the guy in the boardroom saying, "No, we don't do this, Keith. I don't know if you know how we've done this here for a long time. We don't do this WWE night. What is this crap, man? Seriously." No, we don't do this. We have a brand I've been finely crafting for years now. And you're going to cheapen it with a WWE night? Think about it that way. Every opportunity they can, whether it's that or, cutting jobs, like somebody just said, said here, Kaloy's saying, you called it, Reese. The Raps should have called up Juju Reese. Raptors need to sharpen up. That's it. No need to look deeper into these losses. Yeah, I think that's right about the losses. And these are two separate things. We don't know the whole story with Julian Reese and why it couldn't happen here. But in some ways, I'm like, man, you dropped the ball. We had him in house, and this is a guy that I pegged. Like, I pegged him really early this season before he even had the major breakouts. I could see the signs of the quality of player that he is. And I scouted him like that. And I was saying this. I've been calling it out. In some ways, I'm like a Paul Revere on this channel. The British are coming. The British are coming. In some ways, I'm like that. I warn people about things ahead of time. And I wish people would listen to me. And in some ways, Raptors organization, Julian Reese, if he wasn't in your plans, you had no serious consideration of putting him on our roster. In some ways, that was a blind spot. That was a blind spot that you didn't. Seriously, I could say that honestly, because look, man, we've been struggling with rebounds all fucking year. And this man just got 20 rebounds for the Wizards last night. Like, seriously. Yeah, if y'all are going to pay attention to the Raptor streak in the morning, MLSE, you better fucking listen to me. Seriously. Because in some ways, I'm calling it. And you know what? I hate that I'm right on Grady, it seems like, too. Seriously. So maybe y'all need to be listening to me. Maybe y'all do need me to come down there and sit with you in the room, in the war room with Dan Tolzman and everybody else. Yeah. Because, I mean, my intentions are right. And obviously, I have an eye for some of this shit. Because, man, the man went and got 18 and 20 last night in the NBA. And I'm like, yeah, because I see the fundamentals. I see the way he works. I see what he's doing. And maybe the Reese family's just like that. They got rebounds in their family. That's for sure. Angel and Julian. They got rebounds in their family. That's for sure. That's right. Kaz is saying, Lex, I know it's off topic, but who did hang on, it jumped ahead. Who did you draft for Fantasy Survivor this season, and who are your favorite players? This is fun. This is fun. Yeah, spoiler, if you guys have not watched the second episode of Survivor 50 this week, I may talk about it right now. You may want to mute me for a second if you haven't watched the episode yet. My team is cool. We have 6 players each because of the extended cast for season 50. And I had 2 players on each of the 3 teams, a male and a female on each of the teams. And my team was I have Charlie and Camilla on that one team. Charlie was my keeper. We actually had keepers because we played so much. And the rule was you had to have had that player in a previous season to declare him a keeper for this season. And my keeper was Charlie. I had the choice between Charlie and Rizzo. Those were the only 2 players in this cast that I had on my teams before. And I picked Charlie. So Charlie was my keeper. And I loved Camilla. I wanted Camilla on my team before because she's from Toronto. And I just think she's such a devious, fun player. But her game is kind of out in the open now because everybody knows what her and Kyle did. I also wanted Kyle, and I went and got Kyle. So Kyle was one of my picks too. But the medevac getting him out, that sucks. That was sad to see because I like Kyle and Camille a lot. So I had them on my team. And then I have Stephanie. I have Stephanie on that team also. Stephanie, the 45-year-old who's from earlier seasons in Survivor. She's fantastic. She's an amazing athlete. And I feel like she's one of my more stronger players. And then my other 2 players from the orange team are Christian. I have Christian. I love Christian. And I think it's so crazy I didn't watch the season with Christian because, man, he's so Tallahassee. Like Christian Hubecki is like a person I would be best friends with in Toronto, in Tallahassee. Like he is exactly like one of my friends back home named Scott. Like, I swear they may be related because they're so eccentric and weird in the way they act. And so Christian's on my team, and then Jenna was on my team too. So I lost 2 people in the first episode. I went from 6 players to 4 because Jenna was my last pick. She was the last person left over for me to take. I didn't want her necessarily. And then Kyle got medevaced out. So I only have 4 players right now. And that's Camilla, Charlie, Christian, and Stephanie. And those are 4 strong players, though. I feel really good about the 4 that I've got, especially since it looks like Christian's the puppet master on the orange team right now. And that plan that Devins and him did at the end of the episode on Wednesday is hilarious. The fact that he fell down on purpose and then he went and hid that idol at the tribal council. That's so amazing. And the Billie Eilish stuff is interesting too, because Christian gave that idol to Aubrey. He could end up, because they're switching up the tribes next week, he could end up on the same tribe as Aubrey, and he could actually politic to get her voted out just to get that idol back. So this may be Greek to a lot of people that are watching right now. But man, if you have not ever watched Survivor ever, this is the season to watch. It's the 50th season. It's a huge celebration, and it is insanely good. I love the whole uncertainty of the fan factor. And the high idea that they put them on Exile Island all of a sudden at that one moment in the first episode. There's a lot of twists and turns, and it's a really, really fresh season of Survivor that is surprising and is very like fun. And because we know all the players because they played before, there's a lot of dimensions and depth to the season. Whether it's the partnership of Suri and Ozzy, whether it's the ongoing feud between Coach and Ozzy. There's a lot in this season that's just spectacularly fun to watch. So, yeah, that's my team right there, Kaz. And in some ways, I lost 2 of my players right away, and I'm down now. I was so happy Savannah got out. I was so happy. I wanted her to get voted out so bad in her season last season, and I hated that she won. And it was very rewarding to see Savannah Louie walk off with her torch snuffed this week. Very, very rewarding. Very, very rewarding. I hate her. Oh my gosh, she's such a fake little person that acts like she's a victim and cries and whines and says all this stuff, but absolutely is a horrible person. Absolutely is a horrible person. And yeah, it's just a fun show. You got me off track here, but that's okay. I enjoy it. In some ways, I've been wanting to kind of talk about Survivor on the show. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It's been a fun season so far. And well, we'll see who wins. Adriana's team's interesting too. But I like my players. And man, Christian Hubecki. What a weird dude, man. He's such a weird dude. I mean, if he's going to shit his pants, it might as well be him because he can describe it in such a verbose, interesting way. And I mean, in some ways, they're wrong to put him out there like that. Like, don't show this moment for him. There's been other survivors that have shit their pants in the middle of the season and gone through that embarrassment, and they didn't really put it on blast like they did on this one, right? Yeah, it's such a fun show, though, man. Yeah, it's such a fun show. Kaloy saying, haha, King Nephew. That's right. That's what I'm calling William Liu now. He's King Nephew. He's like the boss nephew. You get to video game, Kaloy, and you go through all the stages, and maybe like he who shall not be named is an earlier boss, and then you get the King Nephew. He's like the boss in the last level, and it's William Liu as a King Nephew. That's right. Kaloy saying, I want more assists. The Raps can do this. I want to see more Darko ball in the second half. Maybe the players are reverting to ISOs, especially Brandon, when the pressure starts. Yeah. Yeah, that's too. Maybe they're doing this as a default and they're not showing their best stuff, but that don't make no sense. You need to practice your best stuff so that you can execute it and get good at it from repetition. I don't know. Darko, are you holding cards as far as like plays for later in the game? Maybe you should try and do them and practice them, is what I'm saying. One of the things I love about watching Survivor is Josh Lewinberg is a huge fan, right? Josh Lewinberg of the Roger Sportsnet, our Raptors reporter, and he talks about Survivor on Blue Skies a lot. And him and I interact over this. Like, we message each other about Survivor. It's kind of crazy. In some ways, I should probably talk to Josh about the Raptors, but him and I are huge fans of Survivor. And yeah, you can go and look on his Blue Skies. You'll see me talking to him, talking Survivor stuff. Me and Lewinberg. So yeah, in some ways, I'm bonding with some of our media people, whether it's Blake and Raptors 905 games, and Josh Lewinberg about Survivor. Yeah, we talk about it. We've been doing it for a couple seasons now. Josh Lewinberg and I talking the Survivor. Let's see. Smooth saying, yeah, Julian Reese was a miss by the front office. Well, it's kind of like, I would say that's true, but also at the same time, it's not like you can make all the shots that you want to make. You have limited chambers, or limited shot attempts because you have limited roster positions and contracts and places to put people. And I don't know how Bobby's metrics or his front office with Dan Tolzman and them analyzed the situation and how they looked at it, or with whether they slept on this opportunity or not, or whether they had already determined that they're not interested in Julian Reese for certain reasons. We don't know. I don't know. Once again, this is Moon stuff, and their reasoning for why maybe they passed on him and they didn't allow this to happen. We don't know why. It could be something really stupid. It could be like he has an Uncle Dennis that's like, no, you can't play in Canada long term. It's okay to be up there for the G League team, but you want the other teams in the league to get you. It could be something like that. We don't know. I don't know. I in some ways, you wish that anybody who comes to 905 would want a direct path to be on the Raptors, but that may not be true. That may not be true. They just want a spot in the G League to showcase themselves and be able to possibly get on any NBA team, regardless of the Raptors, right? Right. Kaloy said, I'm totally respecting Lex's scouting prowess. Man, I've had this for a long time. I think that the first scout that I did that was totally right. And this is a crazy story because this is something that should never happen. All right. So in another life, Lex was a reporter for a community college. I was working at the radio station in Tallahassee. I was the sports director of WVFS. And I was, I had all kinds of stuff going on. And one of my jobs was I was a beat reporter for the Tallahassee Community College, which is the TCC is where Chev and Chris on the other guy, the Lakers fan, they went to college at TCC, Tallahassee Community College in Tallahassee. That's Chev's connection to Tallahassee. So I was going there too, but I was there and I was doing journalism, and I was covering the softball team mostly. I covered the women's softball team and traveled with them even. I would go out of the city and watch their games and write articles on them. This is part of my degree and what I did. And I traveled with the basketball team sometimes too. And Tallahassee Community College is not Division II; it's a community college. And I went to a game. I remember to watch them play against Chipola. And Chipola is like a little small ass town in North Florida. uh, and it's like nowhere. And it was like 2 junior colleges, the smallest colleges in the world. And there was a guy that was on Chipola, and I watched him, and I was like, that dude's gonna be in the NBA. And I was like, there's no path for this guy because he's on a junior college, he's on a community college team. And he did. He made it to the NBA eventually. I was right. I came in there, and this dude was playing in a community college, and his name's Chris Porter. And he got drafted by the Golden State Warriors, and he ended up playing for them. Not a very long career, but he was good enough for the NBA. And I went into that gym, and I said, this dude's an NBA player. Like, I called it. And then, like, a couple years later, he actually made it from a junior college, from a community college. There's no path to do that. So it's like, man, you're good. And I mean, one of the most famous scouts I ever did was Steph Curry. And I scouted Steph Curry when he was 12. I was at the Raptors arena working for the Raptors during the Carter era at Air Canada Center. And I do my subs and I get done and I go sit in the arena and I'm watching Seth and Steph shoot around when the arena's closed because I'm an employee and I'm in there and I'm on break because I already did my job. And I'd like to just watch the players shoot around back then. And I'm watching these 2 little ankle biters. And this is like around 2000. And Steph and Seth were bombing NBA threes. And they were like this tall. I was like, that kid's good. He's going to be in the NBA. And I was right. I didn't even know that was Del Curry's kid. I didn't even know that was Steph Curry. I just said, that kid is so good. And he's like 3 feet tall. He's not even that tall. I was like, that kid's going to be in the NBA. Little did I know it's Steph Curry. He's going to be the MVP of the league and win all these championships with Golden State. So, yeah, there's a track record of analyzing and seeing people in the moment and making the deduction and then it coming true down the road. Whether it's Steph Curry at the age of 12 as a middle schooler when his dad's playing for the Raptors and Vince Carter, or it's Chris Porter from Chipola making it somehow, some way into the draft and getting on the Golden State Warriors at some point. You can look him up. You know, Chris Porter, where the fuck did he come from? BFE, Florida. That nobody would have ever seen him. But for some reason, I looked at him and said, he's going to be in the NBA. And I was right. So, yeah, there's a track record here, man. Yeah. Kaz is saying 10-4, Lex. My favorite tribe so far is the Orange team. Only one I can't stand is Savannah on that team. My least favorite team is the Purple team by far. I like Christian and Devins, and I love the duo of Ozzy and Suri. Yeah, I like Ozzy and Suri, too. I think that they're a great complement for each other. Their strengths and weaknesses balance each other. And I love that they're working together. And obviously the producers want them to stick around. These advantages that Ozzy got are very good because they got to keep them in the game. And Jenna going for Suri at the beginning, they had to get Jenna out. Yeah, because Suri's got a big target on her. And, you know, it's obvious they're working together. They've worked together consistently for like over a decade on Survivor shows. So I like that team too. I like that team a lot. I don't like Devins though. I hate Devins. And the whole butting up between Joe and Devins this week, I'm on Joe's side. I think this world needs more integrity. I think this world needs more people that are right. And I don't think that Devins is right when he says that Joe's playing this game wrong. There's a long history of players playing with integrity and not lying and holding other people to it. In fact, Joe's smart for playing that way, because he caught Rick Devins as somebody he cannot trust. And that's how he plays. That's the thing that Devins has to understand. He can play an integrity game in Survivor. It's tough to win that way, but you can do it. And everybody get all upset because Joe has integrity on that team is pissing me off. In some ways, it's an allegory for this whole world right now. It's like if Devins is the lying and cheating ass motherfuckers in this world and Joe is what stands for what's right, I'm with Joe. I have more respect for Joe from that last episode in some ways than the whole season, the one before with Ava and all that stuff that happened. Just because he is coming back into Survivor, he's playing again. He got burned by Kyle and Camilla, and he's still feeling it, but he's still going to be true to himself and play the way he's supposed to and the way he is true to him. And in some ways, Devin, you can be devious and do all your bullshit. In some ways, I don't respect that as much. It's a little innovative what he did with hiding that idol at the end of the episode. But still, I don't like Rick Devins at all. And I don't like that Christian's paired up with him right now. It's pissing me off. I wish he wouldn't be paired up with him so close. I think that Christian's right to be tied with Emily because that's a smart person for him to be tied around with. But that orange team's very interesting. And they can't afford to lose anymore. Obviously, they're going to shake them up and they're going to split the teams up into 3 new teams because there's 3 people missing and one team's missing 2. And that's what they'll do next week. Yeah. Yeah, the show's awesome, man. If you guys don't watch that show, it's such an interesting show. Rizzo and his whole thing with Colby is hilarious. I think that Q's very interesting this season too, as far as what where his history was and where he is now is very interesting at this point. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, me too, Lex. One of my least favorite players of all time, Savannah. Yeah, I was so happy when she got voted out. I was so happy. I was cheering too. He's like, you yelled at your TV in joy when Savannah got voted out and scared my 6-month-old daughter. Hilarious. Yeah, she was crying and her ego was so bruised from getting voted out. She had never got that feeling from her season. And well, rightfully so. You're a snake. And like Lewinberg said, this is what Josh said. He said Savannah should have told them about her advantage. But she was probably right not to, too. I thought it was surprising that she told them straight up that she did win her season, because that's something that, they could have found out later or something. She could have been a Russell and hid a whole bunch of stuff from people, but she couldn't and she didn't. And I guess 2 weeks in the Ponderosa wasn't enough time to reflect or see her season to understand how she came off in the season 49, because she still was the same Savannah this season. And her ego and fake as fuck and smile into your face and stab you in the back otherwise. Well, you get what you get, because when you play with the top notch survivors, the best in the 50 seasons of the show, they can snuff you out, Savannah. They're not like the weak ass cast that you played against in 49. Nah. This team, they know a snake and they can smell it. And they're not dumb enough to think that you came back from that challenge without any kind of advantage. Yeah, they're not as stupid as other people that you played against in your last season. No, they're not. No, they're not. Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very interesting stuff. Smooth saying, I think it came down to Trace having more upside than Reese in the eyes of the front office. I never look at it as versus. Like, everybody's naturally saying Jonathan versus Trace right now. It's stupid. There's nothing to that. There's nothing to that. These guys are individuals on their own paths. And Trace has nothing to do with Julian either. I think that it's just the fact that, to me, it's like if you have somebody in your program that is this talented and has this much upside, you want to put a pin in him and hold him. That's all I was saying about Julian this whole season, is I see an upside in a real NBA player in him, that y'all need to grab him and hold him for our team. That's all I was saying these months leading up to this. And it doesn't matter if Trace is on this team. We could have more of these guys around, right? And it's like it's not one or the other. We could have both, right? We could have both. Yeah. Kaz is saying the fact Savannah won last season was disgusting to me. Such a terrible person, man. Yeah, she got rewarded for something stupid. Her story about being a sideline reporter, because I recognized her before her even being on the show. She's been on TV like over the years in the States. She is a Lindsey Dunn, a Danielle Michaud for the NFL, or not for the NFL. It was either for NFL or college football. And that was her old job. She was one of those people on the sideline with the microphone interviewing players coming off the court or the field. And she tells the story about how she was in that industry during that last season, and how they somebody came in and they didn't like her and they cold shouldered her and she was out all of a sudden, and she got disenchanted with the whole industry at that point. Yeah, it's a tough industry. It's dog eat dog, and people will, if they don't like you. She was saying that her coworkers just shut her out privately. On camera, they talk to her face and they make fun of her behind the scenes. So it's like, that sucks. I hate bullying, but in some ways, like, you don't fix bullying by being a bully yourself and exhibiting the behavior that you're saying other people are doing to you. You're doing it to other people. So it's like, what the fuck is that, Savannah? Seriously. And she uses it as a ploy to get sympathy and say, oh, I felt like the outcast because I was a sideline reporter and all the men that I worked with were assholes and sexist and didn't talk to me off camera. So feel sorry for me. It's like, the one thing she did say last season that I really liked was she said that she couldn't trust the guy with the dreads that was the baggage handler, Matt or whatever his name. First of all, a white guy with dreads is not always like right. Let's just put it that way. I don't know. Cultural appropriation, people can have different kinds of views about it. But to me, in some ways, and the fact that he was like a hedge fund manager before he became a baggage handler, what Savannah said was, we can't trust him because all those capitalists are blood hungry, conniving people that'll cut your throat. And it was funny when she said that. I was like, "Oh shit, okay, Savannah." In some ways, you get a point with me for that one, but that was the only point she got with me. Otherwise, and the whole other everything that she did. All right, we're talking too much about Savannah here. In some ways, that's right. That's right. Koi saying, "I just want to see more TJD, please, Darko." Yeah, he's teasing you with it. He's teasing you with it. I mean, in some ways, there is a lot of promise in his rebounding pace. How often he gets rebounds for the minutes he plays. I want to see block shots. I want to see good defense. We got to just trust Darko. He knows what he's doing. He has a method is madness. And well, Trace is in that level of where he is in the depth chart. And well, if he can make strides, I'm sure he'll get the more time in the rotation and more time on the court as he goes. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I see it. Let's see. Is there any breaking news on the here in any kind of way? Doug Smith's asking for mail for his mailbag for this weekend. If you want to write him a message and ask him a question, maybe you can ask him why Trace isn't playing, and he could probably tell you. Maybe, probably not. Maybe. Do I want to do the Instagram stories? I'm really starting to phase out the Instagram stories because I don't see the worth of doing them. It's not like these guys are posting a whole lot on there anymore, and most of this is just garbage. AJ Lawson is celebrating David Roddy getting called up to the Denver Nuggets on his Instagram. So he's proud of him for that. He's also talking about breaking news. Patriots are signing former Cardinals offensive linebacker or outside linebacker Jesse Luketa. Okay, that must be a friend of AJ's. He may be even a Canadian guy. I don't know. Let's see. Serge Ibaka, what are you doing? He's in a picture on a runway somewhere. Lumiere is what it says. Chucky Hepburn is showing whole highlights of him from college, hitting huge shots from his college days. Man, Chucky, get healthy. Come back. Seriously. Toronto Tempo are doing a new contest or a new thing. They're trying to find people in the community that inspire women to play sports, and they could be a coach. So there's a thing they're looking for, and they want to nominate community heroes for this. Man, she's doing what she can and doing things to make things happen. But Teresa, man, I know you're worried about what's happening with the work situation with the WNBA. Applicants must be Canadian-based, focused on women and girls, adjacent to sport and basketball, diverse of board and leadership, and aligned to Tempo impact pillars of mental, physical, and social health, capable of program measurement and reporting. So they're looking for Tempo impact players. And these are people that are helping women in sports to get further and develop and do more and stuff. That's a really good initiative. And I'm really happy the Tempo are doing stuff like this. Seriously, I really am. Let's see. I don't know. This is not worth talking about. This is not worth talking about. See, they're just lame at this point. Like, I don't get enough material on here to actually do the Instagram stories at this point. It's just going downhill. Anyway, I'll leave that to that. All right, let's see. We got a ton of birthdays today, guys. We've got so many birthdays today. Let's start with them. Happy birthday to Dwight Bucks. Dwight Bucks played for the Raptors 1 year. He played 14 games, and he averaged 3 points per game. So, yeah, 1 year he was on our team was 2013-14. It was his rookie year. So, yeah, happy birthday to one-time Raptor Dwight Bucks. Bucks. Do you remember him? You know your Raptors if you do. All right, the next Raptor you probably remember better. Happy birthday to Derek Martin. You guys remember Derek Martin out of Denver, Colorado? He's 55 years old today. He actually played 3 years on the Raptors from 2005 to 2008. You remember bald-headed Derek Martin being on our bench? He played for our team. He played 88 games over 3 years, and he averaged about 3 points per game in the Toronto Raptors thing. He's kind of a cult classic Raptor, Derek Martin. Well, real ones will remember him. You'll remember him. He's kind of like a Garrett Temple of his time, right? He was the older guy on our team that didn't play a whole lot, but he was there for veteran leadership and kind of hanging around. Happy birthday to Nigel Knight. That's an old school name you probably haven't heard in a long time. Nigel Knight was a longtime Phoenix Sun, but he did spend some time on the Raptors. He's turning 59 years old today. Nigel was on the team for 6 games, and he averaged only 1.3 points. Barely a Raptor, but he's technically a Raptor, so we got to say happy birthday to Nigel Knight. Do you remember that name? And one more, guys, and this is the most important birthday for today. We got to say happy birthday to Raptors champion, 2019 champion, Malcolm Miller. That's right. It's Malcolm Miller's birthday today. He is 33 years old. He currently plays for the Taiwan Beer Leopards. That sounds crazy. His team is called the Beer Leopards, like the drink and leopards. Taiwan Beer Leopards. Yeah, so he's in the Taiwan Professional League right now, is where Malcolm Miller, Raptors champion from our championship team, is there at this point. Of course, Malcolm Miller played on our team for 3 seasons, and he had 53 games in the NBA. He averaged 2 points a game, and he played 11 games in the playoffs for us, including 10 games in our playoff run to the championship. So happy birthday, Raptors champion, Malcolm Miller of the Beer Leopards. The Beer Leopards. That's such a crazy name. The Taiwan Beer Leopards. Yeah, Malcolm Miller's still playing. I think the last time I seen Malcolm Miller, he was in Puerto Rico, but now he's in Taiwan at this point. Yeah. All right, so there's your birthdays for today. Man, I'm behind HC now. The one defeated is taking the lead over me by almost 100. He had a big game last night and overtook me. So, man, I'm going to have a hard time trying to help out James in the battle to try and help him get in number 1. So, James, I'm trying, man. But in some ways, I've failed with my transactions. And it's true. Like HC said, my team is lit up like a Christmas tree with so many outs and DMPs and ILs and all kinds of stuff going on that team right now. So I'm trying. I don't know if I'm going to get them, though. I really am trying. All right, let me see. Let's go ahead and do the classic card. Yeah, man, moving through the stream. Lots of stuff we talked about today. A little bit of this, a little bit of that in different ways. All right, this is a hard card, so be ready, guys. In some ways, I need that full name answer. So we'll go ahead and see if you guys can get this. This is a former net. This is very classic. The year in the corner says 92, I believe. So who is this? What former net is this? Do you know the full name answer for this player? And I'll give you clues after a couple of guesses. So yeah, classic card of the day. The winner gets the classic card points, but a full name answer of the classic card is justified to get the points. That's right, Robert Pack. No, it's not Robert Pack. That's an interesting guess. Robert Pack had a higher flat top, and he was a little bit of a darker skin tone than this player also. But no, this is not Robert Pack. He does play the same position as Robert Pack, though. This is actually a rookie card on this card, too. Let's just say that this guy has the same last name as the best player on the Wizards, as I've deemed, and I've called him Maple Scotty. So this guy has the same last name as a guy I've called Maple Scotty recently. And if that, you can figure that from that, at least the last name of this player, if you know the player I'm talking about, that I've recently deemed Maple Scotty. Yeah, just like Maple Mamba, Maple Jordan, you know, RJ's Maple Mamba and Andrew's Maple Jordan. Well, the player that I call Maple Scotty, as far as the Canadian version of Scotty, think about what his last name is, and you'll get it. Mark George, the last name is correct, but the first name is not. So yeah, this guy's name is not Mark. His last name is right, though. You got the right last name because, of course, I was saying Keyshawn George is Maple Scotty on the Washington Wizards. But yeah, Tate George is right. Reggie knows. Yep, that's Tate George of the Nets. He figured it out from the last name there. Tate George. Good job. Smooth Brown. Man, I'm going to give you a 200 for this one. This one's a little bit of a deeper one. Tate George. Yeah, good job, Reggie. Really, really good. That's 2 in a row for Smooth Brown Man on the classic card in the last 2 days. I'm going to give you 200. This one's a little bit tougher for sure. Yeah, Tate George. Yeah. W Stream, W Community. Yeah, there you go. I like that. All right, y'all. We'll wrap it up. The Raptors lost the Timberwolves last night. It's a process. It's a learning process. These guys are not happy with it. RJ very much made that clear after the game that these guys are trying. They have every intention to improve and beat the best teams in this league, and they're going to keep going and trying and practicing and watching tape and fix things. There is an active project, And this is a work in progress, and we're going to get this done, man. We're going to get this done. I believe in RJ Barrett. I believe in Scotty Barnes. I believe in Darko Rajakovic. I believe in Bobby Webster. So just be patient, Raptors fans. In some ways, it seems like we're not getting it done right now because there's a lot of similar things happening with big teams that we're playing. But understand, this is where growth is happening when it seems like nothing is happening. Trust me, it is happening. We just, in some ways, we got to take care of business against the Mavericks this Sunday, a team that has a bad record and is out of the playoffs for sure. Yeah. Thanks for the Survivor talk, Lex. No problem. We'll check in with that every once in a while. Like I said, Survivor 50 is like the only current show that I watch. I don't watch anything else on TV other than Survivor because it's just like that. It's an institution, and we got our fantasy teams, and it's fun to kind of talk trash with my parents and Adriana about our teams and who's doing what. But I'm already down 2 players. I'm in a bad place. I'm down two-thirds of my team already. Yeah, Mr. Quasimodo is saying it's because the fans want the Raptors to lose. That's why we're the most pathetic fan base. I don't want them to lose. And that's why I say, Mr. Quasimodo, there's Raptors Nation, there's Raptors fans, and there's Raptors toxic nephews and casuals too. And we're all in the same nation, unfortunately. That's why we have to delineate the positive fans, the ones that are actually fans and for the team and support the team, and the haters. And you're right. There are people out there that are haters, and in some ways, they enjoy the team losing, even though they identify as Raptors fans. I don't understand that. It don't make no sense. I don't think we're the most pathetic fan base. There's other fan bases are way worse. And in some ways, they're pathetic because they act like assholes and they act out and they do crazy, stupid shit. I mean, I would say Lakers and Knicks fan base are worse than ours. They're much more toxic and pathetic in the way they act and all the things that some people do in our fan base. They're doing it in all the other fan bases too. There's fake fans of every team that come in and are not the right energy for supporting the team. Trust me, they're not. Yeah. All right. Let me do the rundown again, real quick. The referees for the G League game today at 5 p.m. Rio Grande Valley versus Raptors 905 out at Paramount. Julian Scott, number 61, Jafar Kinsey, 38, and Jacob Budnick, number 32. That is the lineup for the refs tonight. And then we got the stars of the game for the loss last night. RJ Barrett, number 1 star. Emmanuel Quickly, number 2. And Scotty Barnes is my 3rd star of the game. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Grady Dick in garbage time and making himself look pretty good in that last little bit of time by being active and doing a couple good things there. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me. Tomorrow we're going to be sharing the love. Saturday Share Love Club. I'm not totally sure who the subject will be. I'll figure it out sometime today, but I'll be back at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Either way, with reaction to the 905 game tonight and along with the Saturday Share the Love Club. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching, and let's go